Bienvenue tout le monde. Welcome everybody to the regular council meeting of March 17th, 2025. Bienvenue au Conseil ordinaire du 17 mars 2025. Happy St. Patrick's Day to all of you. Make a stop here before you go celebrate somewhere perhaps. So thank you for those who are joining us online, but as well to those who are in the audience. We have a couple updates tonight and a few changes to the agenda, which some of the councillors, I will let them address and explain. And then we will have sort of a recap of the snowstorm and a bit of a heads up of what's coming. You're going to see a city covered, or a significant part of the city covered in orange cones, which is all work that needs to be done, has to be done. Many of the projects you're aware of, some of them you may not be aware of. They're going to be smaller projects, in particular around water. But I will let Councillor Peart give an update on that when we're on some dates and things like that. Donc, on va commencer avec les commentaires et les mises à jour du conseiller. Donc, on va commencer avec un ce soir.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. Je dois malheureusement, j'ai reçu dernièrement beaucoup de plaintes concernant des courriels à la ville qui ne sont pas répondus dans un temps opportun. So, Madam Mayor, I'm receiving a lot of complaints regarding municipal services, especially emails that are not being returned in a timely manner. So my recommendation to the DG is to please look into this issue and try to respond to emails in a timely manner. That's all. Thank you.
Something that you will get a response from my answer or from my office or myself. And from what I understand or what I see from many councillors who CC me on communication, that I see sort of a constant flow of communication from council. If there's an issue, you're always welcome to raise that with me. There are certain situations and certain councillors, certain areas where there has been no communication back, and that has been raised with the councillor in particular. So, over to Madame Roux, who covers the fun stuff.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do cover the fun stuff the best. So I'd like to remind the youth of the city that the McIntyre writing competition is what's going to be time for you to submit online or in person by midnight on Sunday, March 25th. So it's not going on, but it's time to put pen to paper, or I'm sounding old, start going on your clavier and write your text. So this year, the topic is the view from my window. There's the Friends of the Library book sale that's always very popular. So that's taking place Saturday, April 5th and Sunday, April 6th. There's the Art Westmount, which is a two-day event created to showcase visual arts and the artists of our community. That will be April 26th and April 27th. I encourage you, if you haven't gone yet, to see the studio or makerspace. It's very popular. I will be letting you know later that we will, so popular that we're buying new equipment. There's going to be a lecture from well-known resident Diana Bruno. The title is Apart from Cancer, I'm Perfectly Healthy and Intend to Stay That Way. So Diana is unfortunately having her second cancer for the second time, but she's doing great and she wants to share that with others. And I think it's great feedback for people who are unfortunately suffering from that. There's going to be health discussion, being an old woman. Perimenopause, menopause, and post-menopause might interest a few people in Westmount. And, well, okay, and there's the, yes. And there's the exhibition of Anne Edelson and Keith Marchand that is going on at the gallery until Friday, March 21st. Thank you.
So just to add on to that, I know you do sort of a month out, but in the past, this event has sold out very, very quickly. I mean, I say sold out, it's like $5 ticket, or not even a $5, I think you just have to register. is Claire Webster and the group and the two doctors from McGill that have come to speak at Victoria Hall in the past on dementia and dementia care and the support for caregivers are coming. So that's not till May, but just, I know you
Yeah, I didn't have it yet. I suspect
have
it's
it
like
yet, so
this
it'll be in
one.
your next one, but it is, I think we will start announcing it soon. It's a very, it was extremely well received, and if any of you have heard Claire Webster speak, or Dr. Moret and Dr. Gauthier, I know the Canadian Women's Club had recently hosted them at Victoria Hall, but they are coming back, and it is, I speak from experience. For those who are caregivers, this is an incredibly important and relevant and insightful topic and speech, and they really are world experts, so that's May 22nd. So not to steal your thunder for your April announcements.
It's okay. And I suspect you just register on Eventbrite, which
Yeah.
is the way we usually do these
Yeah.
events. So thank you. I mean, there's lots more. Go on the website, but I'll keep you here all night if I tell you about everything that's going on. Thanks.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Chamy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted, today, we're all a little bit Irish, and I had the privilege, Madam Mayor, to join the Westmount Battery float yesterday in the 200th annual anniversary of St. Patrick's Parade, which is a huge milestone in our city, in our community, and in Westmount. And to join with the cadets from the RMR, the incredible volunteers of Westmount Battery, these wonderful former service men and women who just came out, and we walked with the float. I just wanted to say a shout out to former Councillor Patrick Martin and Lieutenant Colonel retired Charles de Kovacic and all the volunteers. It made us very proud to carry the Westmount flag yesterday.
Thank you. And George Bowser as well, who is a former counselor, has been very involved in helping and sustaining this program, and the city is pleased to support them. So thank you. Councillor Peart.
No details to announce this month, Madam Mayor, but as soon as the tenders start coming in, and they will be coming in at a brisk pace, I will have much more to tell you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bostock.
Bear with me, it's going to be a little longer than usual. But I figured we are recapping 74 centimeters of snow, so I figure I'm allowed. Although the weather has changed significantly in the last 4 weeks, and we are seeing the crocuses bloom, I do want to take a few minutes to reflect on the incredible snowstorm we faced on February 13th to 17th, and acknowledge the tireless efforts that went into keeping our city safe and accessible. What happens when the equivalent of 3/4 of an entire season of snow falls in just 3 days? Our public works crews answer the call. They leave their families, climb into the equipment, and face long, grueling hours to clear our roads and sidewalks, one section at a time. This storm was unprecedented, with 74 centimeters of snow falling in just a few days, something our city hasn't seen since records began in 1941. I'd also like to acknowledge and sincerely thank the residents who, actually, hang on a second. First, I want to take a moment to extend our deepest gratitude for Public Works team for their hard work and unwavering commitment during this exceptional weather event. I also want to thank our public security teams, hydro workers, and all other first responders who were on the front lines ensuring the safety and security of everyone in the city. I'd also like to acknowledge and sincerely thank the residents who reached out to express their gratitude for the team's hard work and their acts of kindness, helping uncover cars, assisting people stuck in the snow, and offering support to neighbors in distress. This is exactly what community spirit looks like. Our city has 50 kilometers of roads and 100 kilometers of sidewalks, paths, and public stairs that all require clearing. I'd like to highlight some numbers for you to give you a clearer image of the magnitude and complexity of this operation. Almost 127,000 cubic meters of snow fell between February 14th and 26th. This is the equivalent of 43 Olympic-size swimming pools.
Felt had to be cleared.
Cleared, yeah. In 2024-2025, so last winter, a total of 107 1,000 cubic meters fell all winter and was cleared. Significant. Our crews worked tirelessly for 14 days. This took the coordination of 80 public works employees and external contractors. And the total cost of this operation was $1.6 million, which is the equivalent of almost 3.5 snow operations. Adding to the complexity, we continued to face challenges with private contractors and individuals clearing their driveways or commercial lots by pushing snow back onto freshly cleared sidewalks and streets. This created additional setbacks and challenges for our teams. Another major obstacle we encountered was the sheer volume of the snow that fell. Our standard sidewalk plows simply weren't equipped to handle the height and density of the snowbanks. Only heavy machinery could break through, which significantly slowed down sidewalk clearing. In response, Public Works outfitted a smaller format snow blower to help with the task. But understandably, it was not enough to meet citywide demand as quickly as we would have liked. Despite these challenges, I want to be clear, our team worked at full capacity from the moment the first snowflakes fell. Even with mandated rest periods to ensure driver safety, our teams continued to operate at full tilt, prioritizing high-traffic areas like school zones, commercial districts, and fire routes. With any major snowstorm, we take time to reflect and assess. What worked well? Where can we improve? This was a one-off, extreme weather event, one of the biggest snowfalls in our city's recorded history. Despite that, our crews responded with full force, showing dedication, endurance, and professionalism. We recognized that residents were frustrated, especially with snow piling up on sidewalks or trucks seemingly taking longer to return. I want to assure you that no one, not our team or those on council, was satisfied with those challenges either. But given the circumstances, we adapted, we persevered, and we did the absolute best that we could given the constraints we faced. Our teams will still take the time to review the operation, looking at any lessons that can help us continue to improve. But above all, I want to acknowledge the incredible effort that went into responding to this storm under such extreme conditions. As we move forward, I encourage residents to stay informed by consulting the city's snow removal map, our news feeds, or using the citizen portal to report concerns. These tools help us prioritize areas that need urgent attention and keep you informed on our progress. Lastly, I want to once again thank our Public Works teams, Public Security, and the City Administration, and every resident who showed patience, kindness, and resilience through this extraordinary event. Snowstorms test our infrastructure, our systems, and our resolve, but they certainly do bring the very best out in our community. So, that's it.
Merci beaucoup. Councillor Gallery.
Well said, Councillor Bostock. It's a great summary. I have a few short announcements. One, I just like, first of all, say happy St. Patrick's Day. Just want to let you know that last week, our Public Works Department started spring maintenance up at the Summit Woods, and they will be focused on cleaning and clearing the paths and removing dead trees. Please be patient with them. This is weather permitting, of course. I'd like to let you all also know that our special tree distribution program is back in place. You can refer to it on our website. Residents are eligible for 1 tree each. You can pick the species you wish, and it's available on first-come, first-served basis. And lastly, registration for our programming at Sports and Rec started at the end of February. I just want to remind you all that there are still spots available for our youth and adult programs. There's lots of wonderful programming that takes place there. So again, please check it all out on our website. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Aronson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I got 2 announcements tonight. The first, with respect to our local economic development and our local merchants. We all know we are facing some very difficult and unusual situation with our neighbors to the south. And if you are like my family, and I imagine most of us are in the same boat, we are looking around to try to make sure that we do everything we can to support our local industries and businesses and buy Canadian. And so I want to thank the local merchants of Westmount for rallying to the call and making sure that they are well stocked with all sorts of goods, and of course all of the local businesses who offer services that might have come out from elsewhere, and to encourage all of us to stand united, elbows up, and make sure that during this difficult period, we support those local merchants who may, unfortunately, despite the fact that they are ready, willing, and able to serve our needs, be facing higher costs in order to run their businesses. So please, as we turn away from encouraging the type of bullying behavior that we're seeing from the South, and eschewing services and goods from the United States, when you do need to buy something, look locally, extremely locally first, here in Westmount, and help out our merchants during this difficult time, because they stand ready to help us. That's the first one. The second one is we have a really exciting bylaw that we're going to be passing tonight, two in fact, but specifically one with respect to protecting our trees and our canopy here in Westmount. We've received a lot of really robust feedback from the community, and it's been very helpful in making sure that we address all of the concerns that have been raised about the way that this particular bylaw is written. And there was a concern raised that the way that this bylaw had been written might have an impact on the beautiful acacia trees, the black.
Councillor Aronson has a
I
real
really-
block
I don't
with
know
the
why I
pronunciation
stumble
of
on
this,
this one.
just so everybody understands.
Yeah,
Acacias, black locusts.
the locust, the black locust trees, the beautiful historic trees in King George Park. We want to reassure you that no harm will come to those trees, and in fact, we're going to introduce an amendment tonight to make it absolutely clear that this bylaw does not prohibit or interfere with the trees in that park in any way. Should one of them eventually pass away, it can be replaced with a tree of the same species. So, with
So
no...
okay, you finished?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Madam Mayor.
I mean, the intention of the bylaw was to, for any of you who were at the public consultation on this, is largely dealing with trees on private property. But there was some confusion about how one of the sections was read, and Councillor Roux raised it, as did some other councillors, and so that is why there's an amendment that will be read in item 34, I believe it is, where an amendment will be read into that to clarify that, because there had been some concern that there had been a shift here. There is
been no
not.
shift.
This is, King George Park has a significant grove of acacia trees that will be dealt with, that are, seen as a separate entity. So,
Yes, and
thank you.
they're treasured and protected.
Do you want to add anything to that, Councillor Roux, now, or you later? No? Okay, c'est bon. Anything else? No? Councillor Kez? So on that note, we will start with the first question period. It is 7:22. So it will start with questions in the room. So if you want to state your name and ask your question, hopefully we can answer it.
Hopefully. Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. My name is John Fretz. I'm at 473 Lansdowne. The 2025 capital costs, it was a long list, about 65 items, included a plan directeur, or a master plan for Summit Woods. So my question is, what's happening with that?
In the 2025, that has not been awarded yet.
It has not been awarded.
25 capital works.
Yeah, I mean, it was in the budget for this year. When you go online, when you go online and you go to 2025 and you go almost down to the bottom,
Yeah.
there's an item there for Plan Directeur Bois Summit.
Wait, it has not been awarded yet.
Okay, so,
A follow-up question?
no, it's a short question. It's just
Well, it's a
very
short question or a
concise.
long question, it's still a question.
Well, then if you don't want me to do it, then
No,
fine.
no, I'm-
But I mean, I don't.
Answer,
we get
I want you to, I'm asking
We
you,
get this
bring me
back
a,
talk with Summit Woods from you very often,
I-
and it's disconcerting.
my commitment is that it is in this year's budget.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, last year, we had I believe, this is the follow-up question, we had a forestry engineer was hired, and I thought that the idea that this person was going to undertake the study for Summit Woods. So is that, has this person, is he still around?
He is still employed by the city, he's on paternity leave as we speak right now, but yes, he will be coming back to the city.
Okay, coming back. Now, do you have any timeline for the study? I mean, it's kind of, here we are, and
I don't have an exact timeline unless the Director General can inform me of that one. But I
I
can't
don't
give you an
have a
exact
date
date right now.
as we speak, but it's part of our project, and we'll be analyzing this project as all the other ones in the coming weeks.
okay. And in the end, I know you're going to bear down on me, but when we have the study, can we have a meeting, as we did with Madame Robitaille and Murray Hill, where we can see what's being proposed and do all that stuff?
Oh, that is, yeah, noted, and we will look at different ways that we can communicate with citizens, and that I appreciate the suggestion of that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next question.
John Breslaw, Grosvenor Avenue. At some stage, can we have the feedback taken off over here? Can you hear it?
The feedback from the microphone?
The sound. Can you hear the sound?
No.
You can't hear the sound?
Hear it? We should ask the technician. If it was all sound, feedback.
Okay.
Okay. And while we're at it, when we're doing the cleaning up at the Summit Woods, can we have chips back onto the pathways, please?
Yeah, noted, yeah. Typically, we do that. We chip the wood that is of the trees taken down. Yep.
Exactly.
Okay.
Got the cheese. Right, now let's get on to business. This is a question in terms of Claremont. Whenever there's a change status quo, there'll be a trade-off between those who benefit from the change and those who suffer from the change. It's always the case.
Mm-hmm.
The proposal that Council is considering for Claremont is the addition of a dedicated northbound cycle lane on the east side, which would link the existing cycle lanes on Maisonneuve to the cycle lane on Westmount Avenue. And this cycle lane is going to be separated from the main road by a, what do you call it, boulevard, what? By a median. The cost of this proposal is the elimination of 49 parking spaces. To give you some idea, that's 25% more than the entire Metro parking lot. Metro store parking lot has 40 spaces, this is 49. That's a lot of spaces. So there are benefits for the cyclists, that's the one side, and there are costs for the residents and the merchants, because the merchants need the parking on Claremont, and we've talked to them, and as you said, we need to support the merchants. Taking away those parking spaces is not going to help. To evaluate these trade-offs, again, one needs information, and this information, of course, should be public, as Westmount has a tradition of transparency, don't we? My questions then, there are two of them, are simply factual. The first one, I'll ask both and then we can go back to answering. A public consultation, actually 2 public consultations were undertaken, just like the ones that we did in the Southeast sector. The Southeast sector comments are on the Engage Westmount site. Where are the comments on Claremont published? That's going to be the first question. And the second question is, obviously, to ascertain the benefits to cyclists, a cycle volume study, how many cyclists are using it per hour, going north, has to be undertaken. Again, please provide the data when the study was undertaken. And again, where can the results of this study be viewed? So let's go to the first question first. The comments for the Claremont project, where can they be viewed?
So to respond to that question, I don't think we have published the comments to the Claremont.
I know you haven't, yes?
Yeah. Okay.
So, when are they going to be published?
You're asking us to publish the comments.
Absolutely.
That is noted, and I will discuss with, we will discuss with council.
The reason that I'm suggesting that those comments should be published is that City policy on issues can be many things, but one thing it cannot be arbitrary. If the comments from the southeast sector are placed in the public domain, then that policy has to be maintained for the Claremont consultation. So you will get back to me on when the comments will be published?
Your request is noted, and we will discuss it. You'll also see in the Engage Westmount site that all the commentary, the feedback from the other public consultations is on the site.
Yes.
And much of what's in that plan is based on that feedback.
What's in the Claremont plan is based on that feedback, on the comments in the southeast sector? Try me again.
No.
No. The comments for the Claremont sector, you will get back to me as to where they are going to be published, correct?
Council will discuss how we will discuss this issue, and I can get back to you on that, yeah.
Thank you. The second question is the cycle volume study. Obviously, it has to be undertaken. There's a trade-off. Can you tell me when that was undertaken and where the results can be seen?
So you're asking for the bicycle numbers on a street without a bike path?
Yes.
Without a sort of a dedicated safe zone?
Absolutely.
So you want bicycle numbers for a non-existent bike path?
No, I want bicycle numbers for the number of bicycles that are currently going up Claremont.
So, okay, I don't have those numbers for you, but I could tell you if you were to take, before de Maisonneuve bike path was built, would the numbers have been the same as after the bike path was built? No, so it wouldn't necessarily be an accurate portrait. What we do know is that we did have, I think Councillor Peart has the exact number, but there was support for a bike path on Claremont. Obviously not unanimous. Nothing we are going to do is unanimous. But what we do know and what we consistently hear is that safety and traffic is an issue. We have 3 east-west bike paths that connect to this. We have a CEGEP at the top of the street. We know that providing bike paths makes streets safer and make that form of mobility safer. So thank you. I'm sensing that you are against the bike path on Claremont.
No, I'm not against the bike path on Claremont. I'm saying, as an economist, there's a trade-off. So let me give you some information that you may have forgotten. Back in 2016, there was a master plan, and in it did cycle volumes. To give you some idea, the east-west on Maisonneuve, just going east was 441 bikes per hour in that study. Per hour. Going south on Claremont was 20 an hour, south. And that's going downhill. So I asked a number of people on Claremont what they saw. Basically, they saw 3 bikes an hour was high season, and they didn't go straight up. They went zigzagging because the street was too. They can't zigzag if you have a median. I am going to, so if you're going to make a trade-off, you have to have this information. It doesn't make sense to go and scrap 49 parking spaces for 3 bikes going up an hour. That's my opinion, but for council to make a valid, informed opinion, it has to be informed, which means you have to do the study to see what's happening. I'm going to make a suggestion, Madam Mayor, and you can take it or not, but I think there's sufficient anger if the council go ahead, the number of people have suggested that they are going to go for an injunction. But I have a better idea. The construction of 500 Claremont involves huge construction trucks, including concrete trucks. A fully loaded concrete truck with 12 cubic meters of concrete weighs about 40 tons. That's a lot of weight. To redo the road before the construction completed is frankly, as the Wall Street Journal would say, dumb. Seriously, it makes no sense whatsoever to redo the street until the construction is complete. So my suggestion is just that. Put the project on hold, let the community go and see the information that's going to be available, the comments, the cycle study, and the next administration can take it over. Doing it now while construction is happening makes no sense whatsoever.
Do you want to respond to that?
You want
Sure,
to-
I'll go.
Conrad, you want to come back to me?
No, I actually will address a couple of your points. I'll work backwards from the 500 Claremont point of view, because you were making reference to concrete trucks.
Yes.
Right. As you know, many of us who live in the area know, the project is in full construction.
Yes.
And they are currently pouring concrete.
Yep.
They will not be pouring concrete indefinitely.
No, they'll be doing rebars, they'll be doing sidings, they'll be doing construction material. There's a huge amount of construction material, it always.
So the engineering department and very capable department that has been coordinating for projects over the years across the city, and they have been, are, and will be in close coordination with 500 Claremont. 500 Claremont is I can say that we are fortunate to have them working, because they are working with us. They are collaborating with us. They are as sensitive to the construction project as we are, because any construction project, if our construction project is happening concurrently with theirs, it impacts their timeline. So we are mutually affected by this, and nobody wants to over-impact the other person's work.
Absolutely. So we know that doing the roadway with the water mains and everything else really is an inconvenience, to put it mildly, to any residents, let alone a construction project. So it's in that spirit that I'm saying maybe it makes some degree of sense to let that project finish before ripping up the road. This is my suggestion.
Okay, point taken.
Next question.
Good evening. My name is Mike Kennedy.
Welcome.
My late father has had a home on 452 Claremont since 1960. Between 50 and 54, they lived in the Abbey Apartments, and I remember seeing the streetcars. Now, I would like to compliment the City of Westmount on their tremendous pothole filling. It's really remarkable with the damage the streets have to be able to do that, and it's appreciated, and I think it should be said. Now, I have observed on Claremont Avenue with the 500 Claremont project, at one time 6 trucks all lined up, 24-wheel tractor trailers filled with, I assume, gravel or earth, all lined up there. The volume they would carry would be 6 times what a normal truck removing snow would carry. I'm not against that, but the question I have, we've had a lot of heavy tractor trailer transports in the city of Westmount. We've seen the roads damaged. I've seen the Metro truck, it's about 18-wheel. I've seen the McDonald truck. And then when you stand on Claremont Avenue, look south, and you look at the white lines crossing from north to south, they're all rippled. They're like a country road. So my question is, with all these heavy trucks in, is there a tax or a tariff put on these trucks that will compensate for the road? That's one question. Second question is, since we're allowing these heavy trucks transport, highway transports there, are we going to now create highway transport roads in Westmount to compensate for that, or are we going to continually have this destruction and redone? The reason I ask that question is a lot of these major projects going on, if they're not being allowed or taxed or tariffed, whatever, on their loads, and according to the mileage on their vehicle road log, mileage log, and taxed appropriately, I don't see a problem for the suppliers doing that, because they'll supply a bill, an invoice, for that to those people with the major constructions, increasing the asset value of their home. So, now, go back one area. We have a couple renting in Westmount, 2 children. The wife gets the children off to school, back from school with the homework. During the day, she has a job. The husband's working 2 jobs, and they're having trouble ends meet. And my question is, why should they shoulder the cost of these companies and these residents doing a big asset building on their residence, increasing the asset value? That's a simple question, and I think it should be spread over. Now, my final question is, whatever you do on the city of Westmount, on Claremont, is fine. I don't object to that. But whatever you decide to finish the 452 Claremont, as the previous questioner was doing, it should be done after 500 Claremont is finished, after there's no requirement for heavy highway transport vehicles. And then do your asphalt. Then do whatever you're going to do. But don't do it before it's all finished and then ruin what you've done. Now what I have here, and I'll give you, it's a very interesting thing. I think, Conrad, I mentioned that to you at one point at a meeting.
Do you want to leave it with the clerk's office? Is it tabling a letter?
No, it's a picture.
Oh, okay.
Interesting picture. With the flood at my father's house, and we were doing a lot of research and figuring out what to do, we took a camera and we went down under the basement floor, under the parking pad at my dad's house, under the sidewalk, and we went 86.2 feet, and we came to a brick wall. And that's the picture of the brick wall.
Okay, thank you for...
And now, my question is, I don't know what you intend to do, but obviously these railway rails, or the streetcar rails, are very visible. They're visible now. And I don't know if you're going to rip it all up. I don't know what you're going to do. And obviously, I think you'll probably get rid of that wall, the support for the rail. Because when I look through our drainage tube, it doesn't connect to anything. It doesn't connect to another city drainage tube. On my home in Mount Rose, they went down with a little buggy, and they did an optical read of the internal aspect of the city sewer pipe. And then after doing that, they located where the drains were going into the city pipe. Then the next step, they went in and they put in a sleeve. And then they went in with their machine and they epoxied it. Now they have it's very interesting what they did, because now they have to cut into where the other drains from the homes are coming. But when they went down at the first time, and their optical reader, they located where they were. So the last effort, they went down and they cut into each drain so that all the drains went into the main sewer.
So on this issue, what I think I would suggest is, obviously we'll raise this with the engineering team. There will be a project manager on site. for this specific issue, because I don't have the answer for you. But I think what you'll see when we do these projects is that the engineering team is on site. We have a dedicated professional who manages. There's going to be issues with all sorts of residences and connections and you name
I'm quite
it.
sure all of Westmount's urban planning people and contractors are very good. They're excellent. History has shown that. Now, but my question being is, will they, and I don't expect an answer, but it's just a suggestion that maybe should be presented to them, okay? And that is, are they going to put in a bigger sewer pipe to go down there? Now,
So-
the other thing that I've...
If you allow me to interrupt and answer that specific question, because the water mains have already been relined. This is not a water infrastructure project. This is a road reconstruction project.
I understand that, but every time there's a massive rain or snowfall or a melt, we see pooling of water on the northwest corner of Sherbrooke and Claremont. So I just wonder if...
And Lorraine.
If we're handling the thing, and that's my question.
So stormwater management is a big feature of this project, particularly for the residents of Lorraine who have suffered over the years with unwelcome pooling at the bottom of the hill. And part of this design is such that we're building in some more stormwater retention, some more soft surfaces to capture some of the water that is coming down the hill. At the same time, it's foreseen that the geometry of the streets will change, the elevations of the streets will change, and so that should mitigate the impact of the stormwater issues that we are having.
I hope so, because I think the Westmount aqueduct system going down on the west side of Claremont contributed to the flooding that we had at the house, but it doesn't matter. I just mentioned the wall, because maybe opening that up can facilitate things while you're doing the road.
So
I'm just making observations
Yep.
and suggestions. I'm not
I think
complaining.
Councillor D'Amico wanted to say something.
I want to address the taxation part of your question. So what I would be proposing, and it's just an idea, to partially address some of your issues is to have risk-based permitting. So if a person, risk-based permitting, so if a person, for example, is using dynamite, if it's a moral person versus a physical person, so sometimes the value of the project is really not indicative, but more risk-based permitting, lining that would partially address your issues. So I would be in favor of that.
So my last sort of request would be, I don't know when you plan to tear up Claremont Avenue, but if you could delay it until 500 is completely finished and there's no need for heavy transports there, I think it's beneficial to the Claremont Avenue.
Ideally, obviously, 500 Claremont would have been completed long ago. That project was proposed to the city about 8 years ago, that we went through they went through the whole PPC-MOP process. What I can say is that it will be done in phases. They will work in sections so as not to disrupt the entire street. It will be messy, loud, dusty, all of it. It's an inconvenience. Nobody should be under any assumption that it's not. But they will work very closely, and they have met with the owners and the developers, and they will have a system to manage it.
My concern was don't pave a good road and then put these heavy transport vehicles on it. The other.
So thank you, but I think there's a whole lineup behind you of people.
Just quickly, I know what 500 West Claremont's going through.
I think someone's trying to get a hold of you.
I know, that's the,
Since the flood at Claremont, it's 580 days, and we're just beginning the restoration. So I understand the trials and frustrations of 500 Claremont.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Sorry
Thank
to take
you.
up so
Thank
much
you for
time.
your points that you raised. Next question.
Good evening. Thomas Rollin. I live on Claremont and Westmount.
Welcome.
I will have two questions for the City Council tonight. The first one is a question that is kind of a follow-up on the discussion you've had with Mr. Breslow here. You mentioned that the decision behind, I would say, the selection of Claremont Avenue as the avenue to put a bike path was made on safety and traffic kind of, elements. But during public consultation, we were told that Claremont Avenue was chosen based on the suggestion of Vélo Québec, which was hired to assess the situation. And Vélo Québec, I think I'd say, at least that's what I've been told back then, that Claremont Avenue was selected because it was the less steep street. So I just would like to clarify that the reasons behind Claremont Avenue being selected for the bike path.
Because there's lots of different reasons.
Yeah,
but-
because there's never just one reason why something is selected. Of course, it's a confluence of various factors. One of the main contributing factors for the selection of Claremont is that we need a north-south axis. We have like the mayor said, so we have a lot of east-west axes, but no north-south axis. Claremont is the least steep of the 4 streets going west from Claremont, Prince Albert, Victoria, Grosvenor, and those are the only streets, of course, that connect to both bike paths at the same time. So it is the least steep street, so that makes it that's one of the reasons why it's one of the best candidates. Yes, you are right. We are in the live process of re-looking at our bike master plan, but that Claremont segment has existed on the bike master plan that was pre-established. Claremont has always been the logical place for a north-south bike access. We anticipate that at a future date, that link will be made down to meet the corner of de Maisonneuve and Claremont to give us a more direct link. But this is a segment, and this is a 500-meter segment that we're considering at this point in time.
Okay. The reason I was asking is because in terms of safety and traffic, Claremont sees heavy traffic. You have 2 lines of buses, I think, on that avenue, plus heavy trucks. So I think in terms of safety, it's probably the least safety street to pick up to put a bike lane compared to other, streets that are unidirectionals, I would say, going north. But
so I understand your logic. It makes intuitive sense. However, the Claremont is not one of our, and I should have mentioned it to the gentleman before. We have streets in the city which are designated truck routes. Claremont is not one of those.
Okay, well, good to know.
Claremont is not one of them. It's not one of them above Sherbrooke.
Okay.
Going down below Sherbrooke, it is a truck route.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's a topic for discussion for another time.
Right,
on
right.
how you enforce the truck that is not supposed to be.
Yeah.
There.
Agreed. A topic for another day.
Yeah.
The buses, as you mentioned, we have 2 buses that run up and down Claremont. They both run at half-hour intervals. It is not a large volume, a large count of buses that run up. The reason that the northbound was selected was for the reason I believe Mr. Breslau had mentioned earlier, was that as you are climbing a hill, as you are ascending, you are less stable on your bicycle, and so it's better to have that experience on a segregated portion rather than to be in the street with the vehicles. And to address your concern about if there's going to be a downhill route, the accommodation that was made was to widen the lane, anticipating that the west lane of the segment will be able to accommodate, will have enough space so that a cyclist coming down the hill would have enough space if there was a bus or a larger vehicle in that space. And of course, at every opportunity, there are other traffic calming measures that are being introduced at the intersections, raised intersections. So all of these, it's like a mix of ingredients that are being assembled and put together to improve the safety of the street. If you're evaluating against the current situation, with Claremont being a very wide street, I agree with you fully. It is not a safe street to bicycle on. But
No.
again, to address Mr. Breslau's question before, is yes, the counts are low, but the counts are low because one of the factors that contribute, key factors that contribute to the counts being low, it's not a safe street to drive on, to ride on. It is, and time and time again, when we had the public consultation for the bicycles, there are two overarching criteria that people are looking for cycling. Number one is safety. Number two is connectivity. If you have two bike paths that are blocks apart and there's nothing that connects them, then that impedes, it discourages people from using the bike path. So I understand the desire for a count, but like I go back to that old aphorism where you say, like, nobody built a bridge because they saw people swimming across the river. It's build it, and then the infrastructure gets used.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, thank you for your response. On some points, I kind of agree. On other, I strongly disagree, especially that last part of your response. It seems a bit far-stretched to me, but that's okay. The second question I have is, I came a few months ago to ask if the council had been given an opportunity to see a specific section of the WSP engineering report on the Claremont reconstruction project. That section was about the resident comments and also the follow-up notes that the engineering firm had provided in that report to address the residents' comments and concerns. And back then I was told that by you that you did not have the opportunity to see that section because it was removed by the administration from the document. I requested to have access to that specific section that was denied to me here. I was invited to file a request for information, which I did. It was again denied, which is fine. Reasons were provided. However, in light of what happened for the Southeast project, comments were, for that specific project, were released, publicly released. So I can only encourage the City Council and the administration to do the same for the Claremont reconstruction project. And on the follow-up comments from the engineering firm, I just want to make sure that every single councillor has had the opportunity to read those follow-up notes from the engineering firm. Because I really don't see how any of you can potentially vote on the project without having the opportunity to read the comments from the residents, and more importantly, the comments from the engineering firm on how they are planning on addressing those comments.
Okay. Thank you for your comments.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Shona Godwin. I live on Claremont.
Welcome.
I have a question about the bicycle path. I would like to start off by saying I'm a bicyclist. I bicycle back and forth to work every day unless there's 72 centimeters of snow. I've lived at the top of Claremont for 30 years. I don't know if we're allowed to answer other people's questions, but I have never driven straight up Claremont in 30 years. My husband and my 3 athletic sons, who you've all met, have never driven straight up Claremont in 30 years. It's the grade. It may be the lesser of all evils in terms of other streets, but if it's not doable, it's not doable. So my question, though, is about the bicycle path. In August of last year, when we were discussing the pilot, I had asked about zoning changes and permit requirements for changes to the park. And I believe you advised that that would be dealt with after the pilot. You would get that information, you'd share that information. So I'm now wondering, now that you're proposing to
Sorry,
put in
what park?
Claremont Triangle. It's a park. It's a park.
A green space, yeah.
It's a big nuance. I'm just wondering what information you can share with us about zoning or permitting requirements associated with putting an active transportation lane through a park. What application, permitting application requirements are there? What's the timeline for these zoning changes or permit awards? Is there consultation associated with the zoning change and the permit awards? How will this impact the schedule for the planned construction, which I believe the contract's going to be awarded in April, and the construction's going to start in May per the Engage Westmount site. I'm just wondering what information you have learned on zoning and permitting with respect to the park.
So there's no zoning change for the rebuilding of Claremont to add a bike. You're asking specifically for a bike path being added to a street. Is it a zoning change?
No, no. I'm asking about a bicycle path, an active transportation lane, being put through a park, not on the road, as in below Westmount Avenue. I'm talking about Westmount Avenue up to Marianapolis. You're putting an active transportation lane through a park. What are the permitting and zoning changes that will require?
There are no zoning changes, to my knowledge, that are required, or any permitting for that. This is part of the reconstruction project on public land.
To your knowledge, or there are or there aren't? Does somebody know? Does the administration know? Can we get an answer that there are no zoning or permitting changes required for an active transportation lane through the park? It's listed as a park.
Okay.
In municipal zoning, it's
So
zoned differently. It's not municipal, residential, or commercial zoning. It's a park zoning.
There is, to my knowledge, there is no, I think we can, I've answered you. There is no permitting or zoning change required.
So
for this.
it's not, it's zoned as residential commercial, it's not zoned as park?
No.
So there's different types of zoning, and one type is residential commercial. There's industrial, there's many different types of zoning. My understanding was that the park was zoned as a park and has a different zoning than below Westmount or below Westmount Avenue or other residential areas, or Marianapolis, for example. I think Marianapolis is zoned as residential municipal, something like that.
So I think we've answered that there's no zoning change or permit required. So thank you for your question. Do you have another question or a follow-up?
Could I just get that answer in writing? That would be great. That would be great if we could get the confirmation in writing.
You want me to send you an email with that response?
That would be great, thank you. So my other question is a repeat from the last City Council. It's with respect to the traffic lights. At that time, I asked if you had any data with respect to the volume of cars from the intersection of NDG Avenue and Claremont to the intersection of Westmount Avenue and Victoria, if there's any data on the volume of cars throughout the day that support 5 sets of traffic lights, and if there are any regulations associated with the proximity for streetlights, given that there's only traffic 2 hours out of the day, one in the morning and one at supper time, and throughout the rest, and that's only 5 days a week, not 7 days a week. I'm just wondering if you have data to support, and if there are transport regulations about what volumes are required to support traffic lights. I understand that you have safety concerns. However, we haven't had lights at these intersections ever, and haven't had accidents at these intersections, and I'm just wondering if you've been able, in the month since the last City Council, to get any data on that.
So, I just want to be sure I understand your question correctly. You're talking about the proposed traffic lights at the 3 corners of the intersection, 2 sets of which would be new on the southern portion of the triangle.
Yes, so NDG Avenue,
Yeah.
then Claremont and Westmount Avenue, 100 yards away, then the Triangle and Westmount Avenue, another 100 yards away, then Grosvenor, a couple hundred yards away, and then 100 yards away, Victoria.
So you may be surprised to hear that we also work, surprised to see new traffic lights at the two corners of the intersection. If you're asking us, do we have the data that supports this? That's not for us to say that the data is right or wrong. What our obligation is to respect the recommendations that are made by the professional engineers. We challenge them, of course, but we have to respect the decisions or the recommendations that are made by the engineers. They are the ones who will be signing and sealing the documents. They are the ones that determine which standards need to be adhered to. And we can ask the questions. We can certainly encourage the administration to demonstrate that they are comfortable with the need that has been recommended to us. So I do share your concern about that. I'm not gonna hide anything about that. It seems, like you say, it seems to be a 2-hour problem, but it's not for me as a councillor to say.
It's not for you? I thought you challenged and got the data, and if you do have the
No,
data,
sorry,
could you
if I could
share
fi-
it?
if I could-
I think that is for the councillors to do.
If you would let me finish, it is not for me to tell the engineer that what they're doing is incorrect.
Correct, it's for you to challenge and get the data and share the data with us.
Thank you for your commentary, your question. I think Councillor Peart has tried to answer it as
Thank
best he
you.
can.
Thank you if you could share that data. Thank you.
Hello, Judy Philpott, 466 Claremont Avenue.
Can you just move the mic down a little bit?
Judy Philpott, 466 Claremont Avenue.
Welcome.
My main concern is about ambulances and adapted transport for people on that street. Now, with the changes, as I understand it, there's going to be shrubbery also planted. Is that correct?
There will be some shrubbery. Some of it is being taken out. We have made some adjustments, but we don't have the new drawings yet, where we are adding back some parking spaces on the street. But anywhere there is shrubbery, it'll be lower so that it's similar to what we see around Roslyn School in terms of.
Yes, well, the thing is that if people who need adapted transport and also ambulances, how are they going to be accessed if there's also shrubbery besides the bike path? I mean, I understand they can go over the bike path, but what can you do about that?
So the design will be all, there'll be no issue for access for ambulances and adapted transport.
Okay, so it's not going to be shrubbery that's built up then?
No.
Okay, good.
And,
Thank you.
And
Yes.
the driveways
It's not being blocked.
are still preserved from the street. So
Yes.
everywhere where there's a driveway, it still will have street access.
Oh, that's excellent. And also that I was actually thinking primarily at this point of a neighbour of ours who has adapted transport, but he doesn't have a driveway going onto the street. So,
They'll still be able to access
Yes.
his house. And if there's,
Okay.
again, if there's any concerns, they can be directly in contact with us, and we'll make sure our engineering department is in touch with them. All of those safety aspects are taken into consideration.
good, thank you.
Thank you for your question. Mr. Breslaw, there's people who haven't asked a question yet, so I would ask you.
On a totally different thing that
Well,
should be
sorry,
addressed.
Mr. Breslaw, there are people behind you who have not asked a question.
I'll go round behind them, that's fine.
Perfect. That's great. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
James Murphy, Melville Avenue.
Welcome.
Thank you. Hi. I wanted to, it's not about bike lanes, but I wanted to follow up on the southeast sector consultation. So I don't think I need to comment. I don't think any comment is needed on the state of the neighborhood. But I was at the consultation at Victoria Hall. I thought overall it was very well done. I had it in my calendar for months, which is difficult. I've got young kids, work, so this kind of stuff, it can be difficult getting out to all the consultations. But it was really well done. I liked how it was kind of broken down into small groups, and neighbors were kind of able to talk about what they'd like to see in the area. I thought that was really well done. At the table I was at, there was like a bunch of stuff that came up about, you know, how the area could be improved. There was lots of feedback about, you know, having small businesses in the area, trying to deal with the vagrancy and the crime. I think there was some hesitation to too much density in the area. One point that I brought to the table, and I think everyone understood, was that we're living right now, we're in a housing crisis, right? So, and this is impacting people very differently. So the way the housing crisis impacts me is, you know, I don't have a yard for my kids, and that's fine. We get by. We're in an urban area. In terms of, you know, when you look at Cabot Square, though, there's this massive homeless population that has increased dramatically in the last few years. Homelessness is correlated with difficult housing markets. Montreal is a difficult housing market. It has become difficult over the last few years. So I brought that up, and everyone understood it immediately. They either had a parent they're trying to find you know, smaller accommodations for, or they had kids who were trying to find bigger accommodations. Everyone understood the issue. At our table, there was some talk about maybe going higher than 25 stories on St. Catherine Street. There was a lot of talk about the pool. There was certainly no concerns expressed by anyone from the library. When we talked about the pool, actually, we kind of joked that we could kind of end the millennial boomer conflict if you had a building with a pool on the ground floor and apartments upstairs. That wasn't something we kind of read back at the end of the night. But I guess the point I'm driving at is in that process, we had to sit down with our neighbors. We had to come to a consensus at each table. It wasn't just my table that played back the need to have more housing built in Montreal in general, or in Westmount specifically. So I thought that feedback came across pretty clearly. I know there were other tables that gave the same feedback. And then I saw the report in February summarizing the consultation process. Now, all through last year, we had used the word housing crisis, but I noticed that language was absent in the February summary. I'm not sure if I should...
You're referring to the summary of the comments?
No, the summary of both the comments and the town hall. But we used the word, and I'm bringing it up because we did use the word crisis at the
in the public consultations,
at the public
tables,
consultation, at least two tables.
So I would encourage you to get to your question because there's other people behind you, and we're sort of running out of time on question period, but yeah.
Okay, I'll be quick. Second point, I went through the comments. There were 21 mentions of the need to construct more housing. That was not reflected in the summary of the comments. And I emailed this to you. I appreciate you taking the time, but I wanted to just air this kind of publicly. The need to construct more housing was not included in the bullets of the, you know, summarizing the comments. Green space was. Green space, I think, had fewer mentions at 20 versus 21. So I just wanted to highlight that. I mean, my comment is in terms of like the next steps. What's going to happen here? I don't want to come and ask council to send the report back if it's going to slow the process down. But I also feel like, you know, we brought feedback to the table. Other neighbors brought the feedback to the table. I read the report now. To me, it doesn't reflect the feedback of the people who actually showed up and worked with their neighbors to put together a vision. It really reads like something that has been... It's more reflective of comments, I think, that we hear in the editorials in the paper from people who were not at the consultation and were not elected. Now, maybe that's my bias. I'm just sharing my perspective, my opinion. I thought the housing part was clear. I'm not seeing it in the reports. So I'm just curious what the next steps will be.
Thank you for your commentary, your update on that. I think we would also, I've been at this long enough to understand that, you know, the people that write it, like, I was at all of those public consultations. Most of council attended the public consultations, not all, but most of council was there. I think they would share your opinion that what was at the table was not necessarily reflected in, and the feedback at the table wasn't, you know, totally in sync with what some of the commentary was of people writing in, and that's human nature, right? Like the letters to the editor are not typically like, things are great. I'm feeling really positive about my city right now, or, you know, it's if you are against something, you tend to air that a little bit more, but there was some very, you know, constructive feedback on there in terms of, you know, heights and densification and things like that. I think you will find that everybody around the council table agrees with you that there is a housing crisis. There is a need to address the situation of the Southeast. I don't think anyone agrees that that's the gateway, and the current format is the gateway. Well, no, I shouldn't say any, like, I think we all agree that we have to do something. The situation on St. Catherine Street is urgent. It was urgent 6 years ago when we began discussions and hoped that Dawson would be sort of the key anchor of revitalizing that street. The current provincial government has made sure that that's not going to happen anytime soon. But I agree with you that the commentary isn't always entirely reflective of, I was surprised by some of the commentary, in particular from people, as you said, who hadn't participated and seen, you know, some of the interactions and the feedbacks there. And there was a lot of, I'm astounded when people, or I'm amazed and grateful when people come to public consultations. They, you know, everybody's busy with young families or older, or taking care of people or whatever it is. Everybody's busy, but we saw, you know, hundreds of people come out for those public consultations to participate in that, and not just from the area, but also for a lot of people who, you know, it's the gateway to the city. It's a really important commercial sector, a commercial artery, but also it's an area, you know, where my 17-year-old daughter is not allowed to walk on St. Catherine Street at night, and we're shutting down a metro entrance. That is unheard of in the STM line, to shut down metro entrances because of that, because of safety issues. We have to address it. The easier thing could have been to just sort of say status quo and hope that something would change, but we've seen that it hasn't. So I know that these things are divisive, and as you mentioned, I mean, you brought it up, not me, the boomer versus millennial.
We solved it with the pool and the towers on top.
But it is, you know, different generations have different needs, expectations, and our job is to look at that as a whole, and residents' job at those public consultations is to advocate for themselves as well. So it's how we mesh that and bring it together. This is not an easy task to move forward on the Southeast, but it is, we've heard from a lot of people, a lot of experts as well, and a lot of citizens, and their voices matter too. Like, you don't have to be, you know, the head of urban planning at McGill to have a valid opinion on this. But I do think it's really important to hear from different generations, and maybe you're not placing parents in a seniors residence where there are literally no spots, but maybe you have kids that need a place to have a daycare or whatever it may be. So it's a challenge for sure, but I think we are on the right path. We have heard the feedback. We understand, we know the importance of the architectural heritage of the area, but also the potential for growth in the area as well. So I don't know if I necessarily answered your questions. Anyone want to add to that? But I can see why, as someone who participated in the public consultations, you didn't feel that was necessarily reflected in the online feedback afterwards, because they were two sort of separate things.
Well, it was the summary. It was the summary where I didn't think it, but it sounds like the feedback was heard.
Councillor Aronson, and then we'll move on to the next question.
So, Mr. Murphy, I got to tell you, I had the exact same response that you did when I first read the public consultation summary. I took solace in the fact that on page 18, there is a list of highlights. And in that list of highlights, one of the things that was highlighted, to go back to the consultants who are going to be presenting us with a new iteration of this plan, is the need for densification. I would like to see the words housing crisis in there too. I think it's important to acknowledge the reality that this isn't just in our city, across the country. People need homes, and there just aren't as many of them as we need. Nevertheless, the job of the consultants was to present us with a summary. And boiling everything down and making sure it all gets in there is a really tough job. So when I saw that they had highlighted as one of the key points the need for densification, I kind of said, okay, there's something here. We've been heard. Maybe it's not being reflected back the way I'd like to see it, the way that you'd like to see it, but I have some faith that when we see the next iteration of this plan, we're going to be able to say, okay, we've got some draft solutions here. Densification does mean more housing.
I appreciate it. It sounds
Thank
like
you.
the feedback's heard. I just wanted to bring it up and say people
Thank
do
you.
support this.
Thank you for raising it.
Thank you.
Next question.
Jessica Winton.
And then we're going to move, we've got some online questions that we have to do as well.
Speaking of generations, here I am.
Welcome.
So I wanted to touch on a lot of the same subject. I think a lot of great points were just made, but I wanted to follow up on them. I'm standing here to give a voice to the people who don't have the privilege to be here right now or at the public participations, because I think while we know that not everybody is able to come, we don't really acknowledge it very much. The people affected by the housing crisis the most are those with the least privilege, and it's important to kind of take in their role when we plan for these projects. Safety is a big point. As you said, we've shut down a metro entrance. But I want to reiterate the fact that a lot of the planning that goes in with this proposal, with these tall buildings, is the fact that we need pedestrian space. Because on the street, there's the concept of, who comes from Jane Jacobs, the concept of eyes on the street. So if there are people on the street, it'll be safer because obviously people aren't going to be as rowdy when there are other people around because of basic respect, I would hope. And in the plans that you've shown, while I realize they're very preliminary and they don't really necessarily represent what the final project will actually envision, I think a lot of the complaints, at least at my table during the public participation, was the fact that there wasn't really a cohesive vision that the city was putting forward aside from revitalizing it generally with denser uses. People are very visual, myself included, and when we just see tall buildings, we think of shadows, we think of my view, the sun's not going to come into my house anymore, and it's scary for a lot of people. So I wanted to ask as well if the city has any plans to kind of update the plan very kind of frequently with maybe designs or sketches that people can input. The City of Montreal has a public participation budget where people can propose projects for certain sites, and there's a dedicated amount from the city to go towards these public ideas. And I think something similar would go very well along with the Southeast
So they have,
revitalization.
is that, I don't want to interrupt your.
I can keep going, or you can respond. Up to you.
Well, just on that note, yeah, they do have the Office de Consultation Publique, which has a whole framework around it. Obviously, they're a much bigger, city and organization than we are. And for sure, the 3D renderings may not have been, they're so preliminary, there's no architecture to it. It is massings, essentially. So it is very hard to envision if you're not sort of in this realm and work in this, that those 3D renderings would be hard to envision of what's that going to look like. Is that just a big giant block? Is that just a Griffintown block, basically? And it's obviously we have very stringent rules around design and and building, and anyone who's been through the process will tell you it's a grueling process. Because we have very high expectations, and that would continue for this area, and that we understand the connection between, the residential area south of that, south of Dorchester. And so, I think for a lot of people, that phase of this is the visioning exercise. This is the beginning stages of it. But I think it was difficult for some people to sort of visualize what they would want there.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I mean,
and then go forward. Yeah, I'm mindful of time because I know
Sure.
we have questions online.
I just wanted to bring up
and then we still have a whole agenda to get
the
through.
facet of multi-use. A lot of people think that zoning is single use because that is the majority of zoning. But when it comes to multi-use buildings, like I'm from New York City originally, but buildings have many purposes. You can fit a senior's home, you can fit an elementary school, you can fit a swimming pool all in one building. And I think when you just say this is a tall building and it can be for anything, it's too vague for people to really grasp. And kind of maybe envisioning what that can look like with the sketches or the plans, I think might help a lot of people kind of cope with what's scary to them.
Yes, okay.
And for me, that would be housing costs. I'm going to grad school and moving means I have to rent an apartment. And at least in Ottawa, the cost of like a single bedroom apartment is about $1,600 per month. And that's not even downtown. That's in like Gatineau even. So obviously housing is needed everywhere. A similar situation faces here, and so I just hope that's considered.
Yep, thank you. I mean, you raise a good point. There is a CEGEP and a university right next door.
If I could just jump in, if you allow me, Jessica. One of the challenges too with the SPP, the PPU project in the southeast, is that it's a special planning program. It's an urban planning project. It's not a construction project. So many of you might have seen the large project that's being proposed in the Molson brewery sector. But that's one developer, one property owner, but it's over dozens of buildings. And so it's a project that they can present as a coherent whole. At the southeast, however, we have different lots, different owners, each of them and us included in that mix with different timelines and different agendas. And so the buildings that are being shown the buildings that were shown are really just placeholders. They're not projects. They're just, well, maybe a building of X stories could be here and it might have this volume like that. But it is not these are not projects that are being presented. Projects will come at a later date. And so there will be a project that will be conforming, and it would be a building. It could be 3 stories, 7 stories, 20 stories. We don't know, but what we are setting is the framework. It's just like the lattice into which the buildings are being inserted. We're not proposing projects because that is at a more granular level of analysis. So it makes the image making a little bit more challenging because we're telling a story that's not really the story, it's what could be.
If I may, what we're doing also in this PPU, it's a PPU. So really, it's a sketch. So right now, all we can do in the zoning is the heights. There's no more public consultation for a PPU. I wish there was, but there isn't. So there's not going to be another public consultation having your input. What's going to happen in August, there's going to be an approval process. I'm not even clear on that, but there's no more public consultation. And it is just a sketch of height we're talking. What's going in between and all the detail?
And use.
And use, height and use.
Yeah, but no architecture.
But there's no architecture in there.
Okay.
And that's it.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Next question, please.
Hi, Gail Jaroslawski, 9 Murray Avenue.
Welcome.
I commend the council on seeing the light as far as the acacias are concerned. It's sort of like as the redwoods are to California, so is the acacia grove to Westmount. Anyway, this is gratifying. I had a couple of things I wanted to clarify. I have a quote from the mayor from 2022 in which she says, yes, new acacias can be sprinkled around Murray Park. And I assume from this statement that it is still true that the
Where's that quote from?
October the 25th from the Westmount Independent, or, yeah.
So,
Lorraine Sweeney's.
Lorraine Sweeney. Okay, so what we have within the Grove area, the designated areas, which you had seen in the public consultations that we, had sort of designated, And the public consultation I'm referring to is the one where Sophie Robitaille did the presentation. She had sort of highlighted where the groves are. That is the area where we will have, where acacias can be.
Where you will replace
If
the
a tree
acacias.
comes down, then
Yeah.
yes, an acacia can be replaced.
And further to that, you did make an agreement when the 30 trees came down that they could be replaced as well.
Inside the grove.
Yeah.
Yes, in the grove.
Yeah. And,
But not elsewhere.
And what does this mean for acacias in general in people's yards? I mean, there are rumors going around that you people are going to come and cut them all down and...
No.
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 Okay.
I saw a few of those emails. I'm not sure where this sort of panic arrived from today.
No, either. I didn't see them.
But no, what is this is a good news story. We are protecting the canopy of Westmount. We want that to continue. We want there to be fines. We have a lot of people that cut down trees without permits, and we have very little teeth to deal with that, or we had minimal teeth to deal with that. So we are increasing that. And this is really a recognition of the importance of protecting the canopy that is there. But we understand, the acacia trees nobody needs to. We understand the importance of them in KGP Park. This is not addressing that at all. This is really the real spirit of this bylaw was addressing the private properties. And there was a public consultation a couple weeks ago that was attended by a few people.
I didn't hear of it.
It was advertised. We made it public. It was advertised. Yeah.
What?
There was a public consult.
Thing about a bylaw, but it
Yeah,
didn't
because it
specifically
is.
address...
Yeah. So all that to be said.
Specifically address that issue.
Because this isn't a bylaw specifically about acacia trees, but it is, I think you'll be pleased with the amendment that's in there. I know your counselor is pleased with the amendment that's in there, so I hope that you are as well.
Well, I hope that it goes far enough. And while I'm on the subject of Murray Park, as I call it, and Sophie's plan, it doesn't seem too clear as to what your plans are to continue her desire to replant the trees that were planted in all the, I'll call them wrong places, the lines of pines and tamaracks, the birches near our sort of...
Yeah, as you've seen, some of that has already happened, some of the...
Yes, the invasive pears have gone, but that's it.
It's sort of a several-year plan, because some of it was removing, some of it was moving, and some of it is planting. And that is part of our ongoing work in the park.
Well, I commend you for some of the plantings. It looks well distributed, and I trust it follows Sophie's plan. But I know, for example, there are little birches all scattered amongst the acacias in front of us on Murray Avenue. Perhaps they should be located to where she suggested they should be located.
I'm not sure what the relocation timeline is.
They don't look very nice where they are. And
Okay, I can't give you an exact date on the relocation timeline but there's some movement happening with the trees.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And so you had also submitted a question online. Do we?
Yeah, so we can, it was in anticipation of how you
All
passed
right.
everything. But
thank you.
One more question about Murray Park. Can we have a master plan where we can see where we're going? I mean, the cement road that has bisected the park now, what is the rationale for that?
The paving that was done in the fall on the outside walking path, you mean, or which?
No, right through the middle of the park, past the comfort station and out the other side. It's about 9 feet wide, and it also extends down to the now defunct, past the tennis courts.
I think that was
more like a highway, really, than it does like a Sylvan Path.
It's where the
Fullerton. Go
cars go.
ahead.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Next question, and this will be our last question.
Okay, then let him. Go ahead.
Well, no, I mean, if you both want to ask a question, it's just we are well over time, so.
I'll send it online.
This is on, thank you very much.
'Cause
This
we
is
also
on
have-
John Breslau. This is for 1631, so we're doing something different. 1631 is changing the way the city goes and presents its public notices, and it's going to be on item 33 today. And it's basically stating that public notices will only be on designated bulletin boards at the City Hall and on the city website. This article, this section, was permitted under Article 345.1 of the City and Towns Act, C19. And it permits the municipality to determine the mode of publication, and that bylaw has precedence over any other law or provision. Correct. There are two problems with the proposed bylaw 1631. The first is legal. The proposed bylaw 1631, section 4, states, the bylaw repeals, remember that word, the bylaw repeals and replaces bylaw 1516 regarding the publication of public notices. Since bylaw 1516 was adopted under Article 345.1, it is subject to Article 345.2. I will read you 345.2. A bylaw adopted under Section 345.1 may not be repealed, but it may be amended. Consequently, 1631, as currently drafted, is illegal. That's the legal problem, and it's clear. The second problem, which in my sense is actually somewhat deeper, is more troubling. We're extremely fortunate to have a vibrant, well-run, extensively read local newspaper, the Westmount Independent. You read it sometimes. This has to be...
Read it.
I read it too. This paper has to be independent from the city, so cannot receive a city grant, and that's entirely and absolutely correct. It relies heavily on advertising and on revenue from the publication of city activities and public notices. To deprive the indie from this source of revenue is short-sighted, runs counter to the intent of C19, and has no attempt at understanding where that independence is coming from. My question is twofold. One, what is the motives for 1631 of taking away this source of advertising from a paper that this community loves, respects, and adds to this community? It's the only way the city can go and support it. It can't go and provide a grant.
We support the Westmount Independent through advertising almost every single week.
Advertising and public notices. The second question is...
And haven't, by law, been required to put public notices in the Westmount Independent or any local paper, whether that's the Gazette or whatever, or the Suburban?
Actually, on 345, it does require that that there be a published in a newspaper in the territory of the municipality, 345, and 1516 states exactly that it would be in the local paper.
So, Madame la Greffière, vous avez une réponse, s'il vous
Pour
plaît?
vos questions spécifiques, je vais vous les demander de me les envoyer par écrit, puis ça va me faire plaisir de vous répondre.
OK.
Cela
Doucement
dit,
et en français exemplaire, s'il vous plaît.
oui, OK. Je vais vous demander de m'envoyer vos questions spécifiques par écrit et je vais y répondre. Cela dit, la modification de ce bylaw est principalement les caractéristiques que doivent avoir les avis publics pour être légaux. Ça ne veut pas dire que du jour au lendemain, tous les avis publics ne seront plus publiés dans le journal local. La loi nous oblige à le faire dans certains cas. Cela dit, il faut prendre en considération qu'on ne peut pas le faire pour tous les avis publics parce que, premièrement, il y a des délais de publication et parce que, effectivement, c'est des sommes
des fonds publics qui sont alors dépensés pour des avis publics alors que ce n'est pas nécessaire en fonction de la loi de les mettre dans le journal. Donc, ce qu'on vient faire essentiellement, c'est que l'ancien règlement, le règlement présentement en vigueur, il prévoit une série d'endroits où doivent être affichés les public notices pour être légaux. Notamment, puis je vous le dis ça de mémoire, mais c'est sur le site web, sur les réseaux sociaux et sur 2 babillards de la ville. Ce qu'on vient faire dans cette modification réglementaire-là, c'est qu'on vient réduire le nombre d'endroits où les public notices doivent être affichés pour être légales. Ça ne veut pas dire que la ville va arrêter de les publier ailleurs. Ça veut juste dire que le critère de légalité n'est plus le même.
I will give you this notice at the end where you can see how the present Section 4 is illegal because it doesn't allow you to repeal the law. It allows you to adjust the law. And so in that sense, the law that you're going to discuss at item 33 today is not legally correct.
And your point is noted. I would also note you are not a lawyer, but
absolutely.
Thank you for your commentary. And in terms of legal publications, there was a change years ago in terms of how we published our public notices. Obviously, the world has evolved, where we see some of the, many people get their information about the city online, whether it be on social media or on our website.
You didn't let me get my question, so I'll ask the question at the very end.
I would also just note that we are one of the significant advertisers and continue to be with public funds, which would take several households to pay their entire tax bill that goes to the Westmount Independent for notices that we also have online.
Of course, and that is exactly what should be happening. My point is simply those public notices should also be there. I don't know why you'd have the motive for changing, for putting in 1631. You haven't explained why at this moment. But the more important one is not the legality. It's the question of, do we really want to support the Westmount Independent as strongly as possible? And my answer, and I think everybody else's answer, is yes, that should be supported, even if it comes out a week later or whatever. That's my point. And frankly, given the legality, I suggest tabling 33 until you get a legal opinion.
It's a notice of motion. Thank you very much. That is the end of our... Mr. Breslaw, Mr. Breslaw, the other side of the desk, please. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, notice of motion, we are tabling a bylaw today. We are not adopting a bylaw today. We are tabling a bylaw. Yeah, that's enough. That's enough on that issue. Can we go to the online questions? What? Yeah. All right, we'll do them after. We're going to move into the regular business. So if you are looking to leave, now is considered an appropriate time to do that if you don't have any other questions and you don't want to sit through the rest of the agenda. But if you are to do that, I just ask you to do it as quietly as possible so we can carry on. So we will start. On va commencer avec l'adoption de l'ordre du jour. Madame Bostock.
Je propose que le procès-verbaux des séances ordinaires du Conseil municipal tenues le 2 décembre 2024, 13 janvier 2025 et le 3 février 2025 soient approuvés.
Merci beaucoup. Appuyé par Madame Gallery. Everyone in favor? Thank you. Oh, sorry, we have...
Et que le procès-verbaux du séance ordinaire du Conseil municipal tenu le 16 décembre 2024 soient approuvés.
And with the adoption of the agenda, do we need to include the amendment that will be on item 34? No, c'est bon, on peut faire au 34. Merci beaucoup. So all in favor? L'approbation des procès-verbaux, c'est encore Madame Bostock.
Sorry, I read that already, and that's my mistake. I move that the minutes of the regular municipal council sitting held on December 2nd, 2025,
December 2nd, 2024, sorry, to January 13th, 2025, and February 3rd, 2025 be approved, and that the minutes of the special municipal council sittings held on December 16th, 2024 be approved.
Thank you very much. Seconded again by Councillor Gallery. All in favor? Carried. Les rapports au Conseil et correspondances, dans 6.1. Les documents suivants sont déposés. La liste de règlements adoptés à l'Assemblée ordinaire du Conseil de l'agglomération le 23 janvier 2025. Le certificat de publication de l'avis public concernant l'entrée en vigueur du règlement 04047 273 et le résumé de modification au plan d'urbanisme de la Ville de Montréal. Le certificat de publication de l'avis public concernant l'entrée en vigueur du règlement 04047 274 et le résumé de modification au plan d'urbanisme de la Ville de Montréal. Une copie du règlement 04047 273 de la Ville de Montréal intitulé Règlement modifiant le plan d'urbanisme de la Ville de Montréal, secteur de planification détaillé du quartier Namur-Hippodrome. Une copie du règlement 04047 274 de la Ville de Montréal intitulé Règlement modifiant le plan d'urbanisme de la Ville de Montréal. Those are tabled. 6.2, 6.2, c'est le procès-verbal du comité plénier. Councillor Bostock.
Les procès-verbaux des rencontres du comité plénier du Conseil du 2 décembre 2024 et le 16 décembre 2024 sont déposés et disponibles sur le site web de la Ville.
Merci beaucoup. 6.3, c'est le rapport de la main-d'œuvre. Councillor Chamie.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. Le rapport de la main-d'œuvre pour le mois du janvier 2025 est maintenant déposé.
Thank you. 6.4, le registre des paiements. Councillor D'Amico.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. Donc, la liste des paiements pour le mois de janvier 2025 est déposée.
Thank you. 6.5, 6.4, la liste d'approbation en vertu du règlement 1507. Is it also Councillor Chamie?
Madame la mairesse, conformément au règlement 1507 sur la délégation de pouvoir à certains employés de la Ville de Westmount, la liste d'autorisation de dépenses pour le mois de janvier 2025 est maintenant déposée.
Merci beaucoup. 6.6, c'est la liste de facturation des droits de mutation. C'est Councillor D'Amico.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The lists of duties on transfers for the month of January 2025 are tabled.
Thank you. 6.7, c'est le dépôt du procès-verbal de correction, résolution 25-02-22. C'est Mme Legraffière.
Oui, donc conformément à l'article 92.1 de la loi sur les cités et villes, je dépose le procès-verbal de correction portant sur la résolution 2025-02-022.
Merci beaucoup. Encore Legraffière, le dépôt du 6.8, dépôt du procès-verbal de correction, résolution 2025-02-04.
Oui, conformément à l'article 92.1 de la loi sur les cités et villes, je dépose le procès-verbal de correction portant sur la résolution 2025-02-24.
Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. So now we move into item number 7, repealing of resolution 2021-06150, authorizing voting by mail. This is Councillor Chamie.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to dispense with the whereases. I move, Madam Mayor, to repeal the said resolution 2021-06150, authorizing voting by mail for any elector or person entitled to vote on the list of electors other than a domiciled person.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Peart. Any further comments? It's unfortunate that we are not at this stage yet, but...
We're not ready.
Okay. All in favor? Carried. Item number 8. Numéro 8, c'est establishment of subcategories of immovables for the 2026, 2027, 2028 assessment roll. And this will also be Councillor Chamie.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the subcategory of residential immovables containing 6 or more dwellings be established for the 2026, 2027, and 2028 property assessment roll. And finally, that the city adopt the policy on the establishment of immovable subcategories and the division of the city's territory into sectors as attached to and forming an integral part of this resolution.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor D'Amico. Any further comments? This is essentially status quo for the city of Westmount for that role. So do you want to comment? Anyone else? Councillor D'Amico?
The obvious question is, is the city ready to implement certain incentive measures for different categories of taxpayers? For example, do we want to set up a separate category for the non-residential sector, the two commercial sectors, Victoria and Green Avenue? Do we want to encourage, for example, the PPU? Do we want to set up a separate sector? So we did deliberate on those issues, and we decided that we wanted to, in a spirit of equity, to treat the taxpayers fairly. So we decided to keep the status quo as is. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. So it was seconded by Councillor D'Amico. All in favor? Aye. Carried. Item number 9, numéro 9, annual renewal of policies group insurance is again Councillor Shammy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the renewal of the group insurance coverage for active employees, retirees, and elected officials be authorized for the period from April 1st, 2025 to March 31st, 2026, that the payment of premiums in the amount of $1,048,834, including all taxes and the variation margin, be authorized for the period from April 1st, 2025 to March 31st, 2026, that the expense of $786,625, including taxes and the variation margin, be charged to the budget for the period extending from April 1st, 2025 to December 31st, 2025, and that the expenditure of $262,722, including taxes and the variation margin, be charged to the budget for the period from January 1st to March 31st, 2026 of the 2026 fiscal year, and that the Director General be authorized to sign all documents necessary or required to give effect to this resolution for and in the name of the city.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Gallery. This is an annual renewal. Do you want to add anything?
Straightforward.
So seconded by Gallery. All in favor? Carried. Item number 10 is Councillor Roux, and that is additional funds. Ajout de fonds bon de commande pour l'achat de livres de la Bibliothèque de Westmount. Councillor Roux.
Thank you. I'll skip the whereases. This is something we do every year, so standard. So I propose that an expense of $90,615, including all applicable taxes, be authorized for purchase order BC 031856 from library paragraph in accordance with the financial information mentioned in decision-making file 004965. That an expense of $69,387.19, including all applicable taxes, be authorized for purchase order BC 031827 for Librairie Clio in accordance with the financial information mentioned in decision-making file 04965.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Gallery. Do you want to add any?
As I said, it's standard. We're buying books for the library.
Yep. Okay, thank you. All in favor? Carried. Now we move to item number 11, subvention pour l'année 2025 à des organismes à but non lucratif, and this will also be Councillor Roux.
Ici, je vais lire les attendus que, parce que je dois avouer qu'avant d'être conseillère, je ne savais pas que la Ville faisait ça, alors ça peut peut-être être intéressant pour certains. Donc, attendu qu'en vertu de la loi sur les compétences municipales, une municipalité peut accorder une aide à des organismes à but non lucratif à vocation sociale qui offrent de l'aide ou des services à des personnes physiques. Attendu que chaque année, la Ville de Westmount octroie des subventions à des organismes à but non lucratif qui offrent des programmes et services à la communauté. Attendu que chaque année, les organismes à but non lucratif peuvent faire une demande de subvention à la Ville et celles-ci sont évaluées en fonction de la politique pour les subventions des organismes à but non lucratif de la Ville. Attendu que pour l'année 2025, la directrice par intérim de la Bibliothèque et des événements communautaires recommande l'octroi de subventions aux personnes morales sans but lucratif suivantes. Je propose donc que la Ville accorde les subventions suivantes pour l'année 2025. La Bibliothèque et Centre informatique Atwater, 37 500 $. Le Centre communautaire de l'Avenue Green, 13 500 $. Le Centre Contactivity Inc., 35 500 $. Le Centre des arts visuels, 6 000 $. La Batterie de Westmount, 2 000 $. Finalement, l'Association historique de Westmount, 3 500 $. que ces sommes soient imputées en fonction des informations financières incluses au sommaire décisionnel 04947.
Merci beaucoup. Seconded by Councillor Gallery. Do you want to add any comments on this? It's, we do this every year. We get applications. They're often similar organizations that we know. We know the needs are there. We know they would like more, but this is the amount that we have allotted. They are not city-run programs, but they are meant to be programs for residents that we do not run.
They're all great institutions, and we're lucky to have them in the city, and it's great that we can
support them
support
in
them.
small ways. And there are some changes in this year's allotment, but, okay, so seconded by Councillor Gallery. All in favor? Carried. Item number 12, numéro 12, affectation d'un montant de 55 000 pour la bibliothèque de Westmount. Encore, c'est Madame Conseillère Roux.
Thank you. I'll do the whereases to explain this because we don't have this all the time, unfortunately. Whereas the City of Westmount's Public Library received a donation of $55,000 in December 2023, which is to be used for the library's project and its users. Whereas the $55,000 donation was recorded as revenue for the city for the financial year ending in 2023 and was placed in the unallocated surplus account for the 2024 financial year. Whereas the interim director of the public library wishes to enhance the service offering of the library's makerspace studio by acquiring new equipment for the space. Whereas the interim director wishes to allocate part of the $55,000 amount to produce a bilingual documentary dedicated to the library and its history. I propose that an amount of $55,000 from the 2024 unallocated surplus account be transferred to the reserved surplus account designated for the library, as set out in decision-making file 04960. That the allocated amount of $55,000 be used for the production of a documentary on the library and the acquisition of new equipment for the Makerspace Studio.
Thank you very much. Do you want to add any further comments on this?
Well, to me, this is always the biggest accolade the city can have for what we do for our library and the work that the staff at the library does, that people are so attached and willing to make donations like this. So thank you to the city.
the donor.
Well, thank you to the donor, of course, who's anonymous. Thank you to everybody at the library. And earlier when I was talking about the Makerspace is so popular that we're going to need to get another 3D printer, a scanner, all sorts of robotic kits, and the document historique on the library should be very interesting, and we were sort of hoping to do it for the 125th of the library, but it's something that will be left behind on the history of the library for generations to come, so it's very exciting. So again, thank you to the donor, you're right.
Yeah, no, it's great. So seconded by Councillor Gallery, and obviously the book written by Lorene Sweeney about the history of the library will be a great tool as we do a visual of the history of the library.
I suspect we'll hear Lorene's voice on the recording.
Bravo, Lorraine.
So, all in favor? Aye. Carried. Now, this is another important one. While it may not be a large sum, this is an important institution that many Westmounters wouldn't even know exists within our community. So it is item number 13, and that is grant to Prospect-Belvedere Services Corporation. This is moved by Councillor D'Amico.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. Donc, entendu qu'en vertu de la loi sur les compétences municipales, une municipalité peut accorder une aide à des organismes à but non lucratif à vocation sociale qui offrent de l'aide ou des services à des personnes physiques. Attendu que chaque année, la Ville de Westmount octroie des subventions à des organismes à but non lucratif qui offrent des programmes et services à la communauté. Attendu que la Corporation de services Prospect-Belvedere offre du logement abordable à des personnes âgées dans le besoin. Madam Mayor, I propose that the city allocate a grant of $5,000 to Prospect-Belvedere Services Corporation for the year 2025, that these amounts be allocated according to the financial information including in decision-making file 04963.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Aronson, who is the councillor for where Place Belvedere is, Prospect-Belvedere is located. This is an important organization, and as we were talking about the housing crisis and people in need, this is an organization that really helps people with apartments, small apartments, at very, very under market rate costs, but they will need to do some upgrading and some infrastructure work, as everybody does, and these costs are a lot. So they haven't been part of our grants program in the past because it hasn't really fit into that program. So council decided this is a grant outside of that program, and it's a one-time $5,000 grant in recognition of the important work that they do. So I'm not sure they're even aware that this is coming, but we had discussed this at council, and so we will notify them. So seconded by Councillor Aronson. Does anyone else have any other comments? No? C'est bon. Councillor Aronson?
I just wanted to add that I live very close to this particular institution. They're wonderful neighbors, and we really appreciate having them in the neighborhood. So they do great work, but the residents are also an important part of the fabric of our community.
Great, thank you. So all in favor? Yes. Merci. Next item is number 14, allocation of $1.4 million to the pay-as-you-go reserved operating surplus account.
That's me.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Kez.
Whereas Municipal Council resolved in 2023 to seize the monetary guarantee of $1.4 million provided by the owner of 4014, 4022 St. Catherine West when granting the demolition permit, Resolution 2023-03-067. Whereas the said sum was allocated to the pay-as-you-go reserve surplus account by Council in November 2024, Resolution 2024-11-256, whereas the Finance and Administration Committee has recommended transferring the said amount to a separate reserved surplus account to be used for the investment into the 3-year expenditure program and operating expenses for Rue St. Catherine West. I propose that the amount of $1.4 million drawn from the pay-as-you-go unallocated surplus be allocated to the new reserved operating surplus account for investments into the 3-year expenditure program and operating expenses for Rue St. Catherine West.
Merci beaucoup. Seconded by Councillor Aronson. Do you want to add any comments on this?
Well, we all
it's
know
an important step.
the state of St. Catherine Street is quite horrible. So this is just securing some funds to perhaps do some improvements in the near term.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, improvements.
This is good news.
Okay, c'est bon.
Thank you.
All in favor? Carried. Item number 15, mandate for legal services, PFD AVOCATS. Et ça, c'est Councillor Peart.
Merci, Madame la Mairesse. I will read the whereases because this is a particular case. Whereas the building at 376 Metcalf Street, hereinafter the building, is a residential building of the highest heritage value, category 1 star. Whereas on June 21st of 2022, the City of Westmount issued permit 2022-0058, authorizing the restoration of the front masonry and half of the side masonry in the same manner as the original materials, as well as the restoration of the woodwork, tinsmithing, and slate roof in the same manner as the original materials. Considering that on October 5th of 2022, the city revised permit 2022-0058 to allow additional work to restore the masonry on the Melbourne Street facade to its original condition. Whereas since this issuance of permit 2022-0058 and its revision, the owner of the building has removed the original masonry and has not completed the work in accordance with the requirements of permit 2022-0058. Whereas the owner of the building ceased all work several months ago, considering that, in its current state, the building does not comply with Construction Bylaw 1391, considering that the Municipal Council wishes to request that the owner carry out the work required to bring the building into compliance with Construction Bylaw 1391 in accordance with the requirements of Permit 2022-0058 and the regulations governing work to be carried out on residential buildings of the greatest heritage value, Category 1 star. I thereby propose that the firm PFD AVOCATS be mandated to undertake all necessary procedures to obtain a judgment from the Superior Court to bring the building at 376 Metcalf Street in Westmount into compliance with its regulations, in particular with Building Bylaw 1391, the whole in accordance with the requirements of permit 2022-0058 and the regulations respecting the work to be done on a residential building of the greatest heritage value, category 1 star, pursuant to sections 227 and subsequent of the Act respecting land use, planning, and development, that a preliminary amount of $20,997.50, including tax credit, be authorized for the necessary procedures, the whole as appears from the Financial Information Decision-Making File 2025-03-004937, that the city clerk be authorized to sign all required documents in the name of the city in connection with the legal proceedings to be undertaken.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Gallery, who is the councillor, this residence is in her district. It's very complete. And the
Complete indeed. There's nothing I can add.
nothing we can add. It is unfortunate that it comes to this, and it's difficult. There's steps that cities have to get to when there's a problematic building. So anyways, I'll leave it at that because it is a very comprehensive motion. Seconded by Gallery. All in favor? Aye. Carried. Item number 16, again, is another legal mandate for legal services LECORRE et ASSOCIÉS AVOCATS. C'est Councillor Shammy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that a contract for legal support be awarded to LECORRE et ASSOCIÉS AVOCATS law firm in the amount of $75,000, taxes included, and that the city clerk be authorized to sign all documents for the execution of the contract awarded by the city, including any act as representative of the city in said matter.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Bostock. Any further comments on this?
It's just an envelope to continue.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Item number 17, numéro 17, mandat avec la firme d'avocats FASKEN pour des services professionnels. C'est encore Councillor Shammy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the city award a mandate for professional services to the law firm FASKEN in the amount of $75,000 maximum, including taxes, and to charge this expenditure as per the information mentioned in decision-making file 04938.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Gallery. Any further comments on this?
Straightforward.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Item number 18, cancellation of the call for public tenders PUB 2025-001 and bid rejection. This is also Councillor Shammy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll read the whereases. On February 19th, 2025, a call for public tenders was opened for the performance of minor civil and emergency maintenance work on the Hydro Westmount's network. Public call for tender number PUB 2025-001. The minutes of the tender opening being tabled to this meeting. Whereas the sole bidder's proposal was deemed non-compliant by the purchasing division due to major irregularities, I move, Madam Mayor, that the bid submitted by Telecom Inc. for the call to tender PUB 2025 be rejected and the call for tenders PUB 2025-001 be canceled.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor D'Amico. That's pretty straightforward. Do you want to add anything?
Non-compliance.
Carried. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Item number 19, numéro 18, appel d'offres public, achat de 7 transformateurs sur socle monophase 5 kV. C'est encore Monsieur Shammy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to authorize an expenditure of $136,150 even, including tax credits for the purchase of 7 5 kV single-phase pad-mounted transformers. Public call for tender PUB 2025-004. And I also move to award the contract to Nedco Quebec, a division of Rexel Canada Electrical, for this purpose at the price stated in its bid for a maximum amount of $156,538.46, taxes included, all in accordance with the contractual documents of the public call for tender PUB 2025-004, and finally to charge this expenditure in accordance with the financial details provided in decision-making file 04941.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor D'Amico. Any further comments on this?
Straightforward.
All in favor?
Aye.
And we are now at item number 19.
No, 20.
Sorry, 20, excuse me. Call for tenders by invitation purchase of ITRON electric meters for Hydro Westmount. Again, Councillor Shammy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Some further Hydro Westmount. I move to authorize an expenditure of $103,947, including tax credits for the purchase of ITRON electric meters for Hydro Westmount invitational call for tenders INV 2025-011, and to award the contract to LECORRE GF Tech Inc. in the amount of $119,510.07, taxes included, in accordance with the terms and the conditions of call for tenders INV 2025-011. And finally, to charge this expenditure according to the financial information described in decision-making file 04949.
Thank you very much. Seconded by, who's seconding in this? Councillor Bostock. Any further comments on this? No? Councillor Shammy, no?
No.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Next item is item 21, cancellation of a call for public tenders, PUB 2024-044. It's Councillor Gallery.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I will read the whereases. Whereas on August 16th, 2024, a public opening of tenders was held for contract PUB 2024-044, whereas Municipal Council has initially awarded the contract to Lumen, a division of Sonepar Canada Inc. by Resolution 2024-09-212, whereas following the initial adjudication of the contract, the bidder indicated that a minimum quantity of 1,000 linear meters had to be ordered in order for the bid prices to be honored. Whereas the city has found that a restriction or condition to this effect appeared in Lumen's tender. Whereas Lumen's bid was therefore conditional or restrictive and could not be retained. I therefore propose to rescind Resolution 2024-09-212 to cancel for all legal purposes the contract awarded to Lumen under Call for Tenders PUB 2024-044 and to cancel Call for Tenders PUB 2024-044.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Bostock. Any further comments? No? All in favor? Carried. Item number 22, c'est le renouvellement d'entente de partenariat Centre de loisirs de Westmount et le YMCA de Westmount, Centre Jeunesse. C'est encore Madame Gallery.
I will continue without the whereases because this is an annual contract. I move, Madam Mayor, that the partnership agreement entered into between the city and the Westmount YMCA be renewed to cover the 2025 annual financial participation to the Teen Center for a total amount of $60,928. That the city's financial participation be paid in 2 equal payments, the first one payable on March 31st, 2025, and the second one on July 15th, 2025, that the sums be charged according to the financial information included in decision-making file 04944.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Bostock again. This is a long-standing relationship and partnership that we have with the Teen Center. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Another item that will be moved by Councillor Gallery is call for public tenders, pruning and cyclical structure consolidation of public trees, PUB 2024-046.
Thank you again. I move to authorize an expenditure of $163,810, including the tax credit for the pruning and cyclical structural consolidation of public trees, public call for tenders, PUB 2024-046. Award the contract to Arbo Design Inc. for this purpose at the price stated in its bid for a maximum amount of $186,959.86, taxes included, all in accordance with the contractual documents of the call for public tenders PUB 2024-046, and charge this expenditure in accordance with the financial details provided in decision-making file 04966.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Aronson. Further investment in our trees and the tree canopy.
Tree
and the
maintenance.
health of our city trees. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Item 24, PUB 2023-051, annual adjustment of transport costs. And this will be Councillor Peart.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. Je propose que les coûts de transport prévus au contrat PUB 2023-051 soient ajustés et fixés au montant de 68 406,60 $, taxes incluses. Qu'une dépense maximale de 59 496,94 $, incluant le crédit des taxes, soit approuvée pour les frais de transport du contrat PUB 2023-051, que les sommes soient imputées conformément aux informations financières incluses au sommaire décisionnel 04974.
Merci beaucoup. Seconded by Councillor Gallery. Any further comments on this?
This is just an annual adjustment to a tri-annual contract.
Okay, perfect. All in favor? Aye. Carried. Item number 25 is again Councillor Peart, who will read the denial of a site planning and architectural integration program, 4840 St. Catherine Street West.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. This is typical for denials. I will read the whereases. Whereas the minutes of the regular sitting of the Planning Advisory Committee, the PAC, held January 14th and 16th of 2025, were tabled at this sitting. Whereas the main role of the PAC is to analyze and give recommendations on any requests that must be submitted to it in accordance with the Act respecting land use, planning and development, CQLR, Chapter A-19.1, and on any other application in matters of land use, planning and development that is submitted to it by municipal council. Whereas an application has been submitted by the applicant under Bylaw 1305 on site planning and architectural integration programs for 4840 St. Catherine West, whereas said application does not meet the objectives and criteria of Bylaw 1305, whereas the PAC has issued an unfavorable recommendation regarding said application as stated in the minutes of its regular meeting held on January 14th and 16th, 2025, under item CCU 25-01.19 of the agenda of said meeting. Whereas according to Bylaw 1305 on site planning and architectural integration programs, S.P.A.I.P, municipal council must decide on the recommendations of the committee by way of resolution. I propose that the municipal council uphold the unfavorable opinion of the Planning Advisory Committee, the PAC, as stated in the minutes of its regular meeting held on January 14th and 16th of 2025 under item PAC 25-01.19 of the agenda of said meeting, and refuse the site planning and architectural integration programs conditions for the issuance of a permit in accordance with the plans and documents submitted with permit request 2025-00020-SPAIP 2025-03004 to change the railing and columns of the entrance porch. That these plans and documents be attached to this resolution to form an integral part hereof.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Gallery. No further comments. All in favor? Aye. Carried. Okay, I think you're meant to leave the room, right? If you're not voting, Madame la Greffière? Oui?
Oui, sur l'item 26, exact?
Oui.
Monsieur Demko. Parfait.
Okay, c'est beau. But did you, we voted on this, so all in favor of item 25. Number 26, again, is Councillor Peart, approval of site planning and architectural integration programs.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. Je propose que le conseil municipal donne suite au avis du comité consultatif d'urbanisme, le CCU, tel qu'énoncé au procès-verbaux de ces assemblées ordinaires tenues les 14 et 16 janvier 2025 et les 11 et 13 février 2025, et qu'il approuve à l'égard de chacun d'eux les plans et les conditions de délivrance de permis attachés aux items figurant aux listes ci-dessous, tel qu'elle est évaluée conformément au règlement 1305 sur les plans d'implantation et d'intégration architecturale.
Merci beaucoup. Appuyé par Madame Gallery. Do you have any further comments? The lists are starting to get longer.
The lists are starting to get longer, and
time of year.
And we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Okay. All in favor? Carried.
Oui, je m'excuse, j'ai les votes de la conseillère Roux et du conseiller Chamy. Parfait, merci.
Right. Voilà. OK. Item number 27, numéro 27, dépôt de procès-verbaux du comité consultatif. Oh, oui, on attend pour M. D'Amico. Merci. Le 27, dépôt de procès-verbaux du comité consultatif d'urbanisme, le CCU. It's again, Councillor Peart.
Merci, Madame la Mairesse. I move that Municipal Council take note of and accept the depositing of the minutes of the Planning Advisory Committee, the PAC, for the following meetings. Ordinary meeting held on January 14th and 16th of 2025. Special meeting concerning minor exemptions held on January 14th, 2025. And an ordinary meeting held on February 11th and 13th of 2025.
Thank you very much. This item will be seconded by Councillor Gallery. Nothing to note. All in favor? Carried. Tabling of the Planning Advisory Committee PAC minutes for the Special Planning Southeast, the S.P.A.I.P. As again, Councillor Peart.
For this, I will read the whereases. It's a particular resolution. Whereas the Planning Advisory Committee, the PAC, has held the following special meetings, and the minutes of these meetings are tabled at this sitting of council. Special sitting concerning the Southeast Special Planning Program held on January 16th of 2025. Special sitting concerning the Southeast Special Planning Program held on February 18th of 2025. Whereas the main role of the PAC is to analyze and give an opinion on any request that must be submitted to it in accordance with the Land Use Planning and Development Act, example, the S.P.A.I.P, minor exemption, PPC-moi, conditional uses, etc., and on any other request related to land use planning and development that is submitted to it by council. I thereby propose that Municipal Council take note of and accept the tabling of the minutes of the Planning Advisory Committee for the following special meetings. Special meeting concerning the Southeast Special Planning Program held on the 16th of January, 2025. Special meeting concerning the Southeast Special Planning Program held on February 18th of 2025.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Gallery. Any further comments?
This is when we solicit our experts on PAC to provide some feedback on the ongoing PPU process.
Perfect. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Item number 29, c'est la demande de dérogation mineure 1 à 3 Avenue Hillside. C'est encore Councillor Peart.
Merci, Madame la Mairesse. For this, I will read the whereases because they are pertinent and unique. Whereas the provisions of bylaw 1576 on minor exemptions, whereas a request for a minor exemption must respect the objectives of the planning program, whereas a minor exemption must be considered to be minor, notably in terms of its quantitative, environmental, and architectural impacts, concerning that the application of the regulatory provisions concerned by this request would cause serious prejudice to the person requesting the minor exemption, whereas the exemption must not adversely affect the enjoyment of property rights of neighboring owners, whereas the exemption must not have the effect of aggravating the risk to public safety or health, or of adversely affecting the quality of the environment of the general well-being, whereas the purpose of this request for a minor exemption submitted for 1 to 3 Hillside Avenue is to allow for the creation of 2 one-bedroom dwelling units as part of a residential project, and this despite the fact that subsection 5.4.2 of zoning bylaw 1303 stipulates that in every zone where there is a multifamily building is permitted, ellipsis, every dwelling unit must contain at least 1 bathroom, 2 bedrooms, and a room containing a kitchen area, a dining area, and a living area, ... Whereas this request for a minor exemption would favor a mixed-use development in the area and meet a need for dwellings with only 1 bedroom, whereas this request for a minor exemption would allow the realization of a residential project that would contribute to the development of the area in which it is located, whereas this request for a minor exemption meets the criteria set out in bylaw 1576, I thereby propose that the above preamble form an integral part of this notice, that Municipal Council approve this request for a minor exemption so as to allow the creation of 2 one-bedroom dwelling units as part of a residential project, and this even though subsection 5.4.2 of zoning bylaw 1303 stipulates that in every zone where a multifamily building is permitted, ... every dwelling unit must contain at least 1 bathroom, 2 bedrooms, and a room containing a kitchen area, a dining area, and a living area, ...
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Aronson, who this building falls within his district. And this is a minor change, will have no effect to the outside envelope of the building. but it is a minor change that was requested by the owner, the developer of the building, the council felt was appropriate to respond to the needs of the housing market.
Absolutely.
Anything else you want to add on that?
No, it's, our bylaws tend to be geared towards much larger units, and in the current market, that may not be workable, and so what we are trying to do is make these adjustments. In this case, it's a bit of an ad hoc adjustment, but I imagine that going forward, we will have to look at our requirements and decide if those are excluding any kind of houses any kind of housing options that could be built in the neighborhood.
Yeah,
We
so
need
these
a
are,
diversity of housing options, and
Yeah.
this unlocks
this is two one-bedroom
two one-bedroom units, and that could potentially facilitate, could unlock up to, I think, 43 new units in the sector. So it's important.
Okay, thank you very much. It's seconded by Councillor Aronson. All in favor? Aye. Item number 30 is the l'adoption règlement 1630, modifiant le règlement 1619, visant à établir les conditions de fourniture d'électricité. Madame la greffière?
Oui, donc je signale que toutes les formalités requises pour la dispense de lecture du règlement ont été respectées et que des copies du règlement ont été mises à la disposition des membres du Conseil et du public.
Est-ce que je peux avoir la déclaration de la part de chaque membre du Conseil à la fait qu'il ou elle a lu le projet de règlement et que la lecture de celui-ci est dispensée? Monsieur Shammy, you'll read the object of the bylaw, the purpose of the bylaw.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is number 30.
Oui.
Merci. The purpose of the bylaw of 1630 is to amend the Schedule 1 of bylaw 1619 to establish the conditions governing, I apologize. Do I have to read it back into the record? Or will you accept my mistake? To establish the conditions governing the supply of electricity in order to remove the mention that a social insurance number, SIN, is required when opening a customer account with Hydro Westmount. This change already reflects Hydro Westmount's practices, which do not require a social insurance number, SIN. I move, Madam Mayor, that bylaw 1630 amending bylaw 1619 to establish the conditions governing the supply of electricity be brought forth.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Bostock. Do you have any further comments on this? This is really just an updating, but we didn't actually require the SIN number anyways. C'est beau?
C'est beau.
Seconded by Councillor Bostock. All in favor? Carried. Item number 31, adoption règlement 1626 visant à modifier divers règlements d'urbanisme afin de modifier le montant des amendes. La greffière.
Oui, toutes les formalités requises pour la dispense de lecture de ce règlement ont été respectées. Des copies du règlement ont été remises à tous les membres du Conseil et mises à la disposition du public.
Merci beaucoup. Can I have the declaration by each member of council present that he or she has read the bylaw and that it is exempt from being read? The object of bylaw 1626 is to modify the amount of fines related to infractions of several urban planning bylaws and to update fines related to tree felling. These changes are intended to bring municipal bylaws in line with provincial legislation. Who's moving this one? Donc, Monsieur Aronson or Madame Gallery? 31, just you move that bylaw 1626.
Thank you. So the object of this bylaw, 1626, is to modify the amounts of fines related to infractions of several urban planning bylaws and to update fines related to tree felling. The changes are intended to bring the municipalities, the municipal bylaw in line with provincial legislation. Of course, you just read that. So I move that bylaw 1626, entitled Bylaw to Amend Various Urban Planning Bylaws in order to modify the amount of fines, be adopted.
Merci beaucoup. Seconded by Councillor Gallery. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Item number 32, notice of motion, first draft bylaw, bylaw 1632, amending certain provisions of the zoning bylaw concerning vested rights and abuses. Councillor Gallery.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I give notice of motion to the intention to submit at a later sitting of the Municipal Council bylaw 1632 entitled Bylaw Amending Certain Provisions of the Zoning Bylaw Concerning Vested Rights and Uses. A copy of the draft bylaw is tabled. The object of this proposed bylaw is to amend the zoning bylaw in order to update the chapter on vested rights and the subsection concerning the occupancy of premises for the practice of massages. That first draft bylaw, 1632, entitled Bylaw Amending Certain Provisions of the Zoning Bylaw Concerning Vested Rights and Uses, be adopted for submission to a public meeting in accordance with the provisions of the Act Respecting Land Use Planning and Development, CQLR, Chapter 8-19.1. A public meeting will be held in the Council Chamber, City Hall, on April 2nd, 2025, at 7 p.m. in accordance with the provisions of said Act.
Thank you very much. Again, it's a notice of motion, it's not voted upon. Item number 33, avis de motion règlement 1631 sur la publication des avis publics. Is Councillor Shammy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I give notice of motion to give the intention to submit at a later sitting of the Municipal Council bylaw 1631, entitled the bylaw regarding the publication of public notices. The draft bylaw is tabled. Madam Mayor, the object of this bylaw 1631 regarding the publication of public notices is to determine the means of publication of public notices prepared by the City Clerk's office. Its purpose is to establish the conditions under which a notice may be legally published in accordance with the Cities and Towns Act.
Thank you very much. Now we move to item 34, which is the item that we had raised earlier. Adoption of bylaw to amend certain provisions of the zoning bylaw regarding tree planting, tree protection, and vegetative surfaces in side yards. La greffière.
Oui, toutes les formalités requises pour la dispense de lecture de ce règlement ont été respectées et des copies du règlement ont été transmises à tous les membres du Conseil et mises à la disposition du public.
Merci beaucoup. Est-ce que je peux avoir la déclaration de la part de chaque membre du Conseil présent à la fait qu'il ou elle a lu le règlement et que la lecture en est dispensée?
So declared.
Parfait. Merci beaucoup. The object, it is explained that the object of the bylaw 1625 to amend certain provisions of the zoning bylaw regarding tree planting, tree protection, and vegetative surfaces in side yards is to amend the current zoning bylaw in order to update the standards applicable to trees in accordance with best practices and provincial legislation. And at this point, I would indicate that we're going to have an amendment to the draft bylaw, dont je vais passer à Madame Roux to read into the record the amendment.
Yes, so thank you. Just before I read in, the acacia groves in Murray Park are unique in the Montreal area and have been cherished by residents for over a century. So to ensure their perpetuity, I would like to propose an amendment, and j'aimerais remercier mon collègue, Maître Aronson, pour m'avoir aidé avec la rédaction. So, at Section 3, Paragraph 2, which reads, "It is prohibited to use or plant the following invasive species anywhere within the territory," I would like to add the words, "except for black locust, Robinia pseudoacacias, which may only be planted to replace to replace trees of the same species currently found in King George Park in the event of felling, death, or destruction of said trees." Do I reread, or was I?
No, c'est bon? Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Aronson?
So I think we need to second and vote on that.
Do we have to second the amendment? Okay, well, seconded by Councillor Gallery. All in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Carried. And now I hand over to Councillor Aronson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, with that bylaw amended, I'd like to propose the now amended bylaw 1625 to amend certain provisions of the zoning bylaw regarding tree planting, tree protection, and vegetative surfaces in side yards be adopted.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Gallery. Any other comments? Any further comments? No? Oui? Okay.
I would just like to thank the administration for working so hard on this particular bylaw, which they do on all our bylaws, but this bylaw really clarifies certain definitions when it comes to tree felling, tree maintenance, protection of the trees during construction, and new replanting requirements. And it's just a long-term protection of our canopy that we all love and cherish, and I think we're all very delighted to support this bylaw update and upgrade. So thank you.
Yeah, so I think what we've seen in the past couple years, certainly, and you know, there's no doubt the long history of the importance of trees in our city. We absolutely want to continue through the investment, not just in our parks and our public trees, but also ensuring that those on the private domain are also protected and are a very integral part of our city. So on that note, all in favor? Carried. Item number 35, update on staff training and development assistance policy, is Councillor Shammy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that Municipal Council adopt the corporate policy on staff training and development assistance, RH 2025-02, that the Director General of the city be authorized to sign that the corporate policy on staff training and development assistance, RH 2025-02, and that the corporate policy on staff training and development assistance be attached to this resolution to form an integral part thereof.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Bostock. Any further comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Item number 36, dismissal employee numbers 05849, 06323, 06494, and 06506. Councillor Shammy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the city dismiss employees with employee numbers 05849, 06323, 06494, and 06506 as of March 17th, 2025.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Bostock. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Item number 37, appointment operational efficiency advisor, Public Works. This is also Councillor Shammy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll read the whereases. Whereas a reorganization of the municipal garage section of the Public Works Department is necessary in order to address certain operational matters. Whereas it is recommended to create the position of advisor operational efficiency within the Public Works Department. Whereas the Director General and the Human Resources Department recommend the appointment of Mr. Robert Tallarico to the position of advisor operational efficiency. And whereas this appointment will allow Mr. Tallarico to dedicate himself entirely to the necessary reorganization of the municipal garages, as well as other mandates within Public Works Department, I move, Madam Mayor, that Council approve the appointment of Mr. Tallarico to the position of advisor, operational efficiency at the same salary and benefits as his previous position. And finally, that Council approve a 9% increase in the performance bonus for Mr. Titoyen Perilot, Assistant Director of Public Works, for an indeterminate period.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Bostock. This is an important step as we work to improve our delivery of services. And anyone who knows Mr. Tallarico knows he's public service is at his core, and delivery of services to residents is at his core. And I know that he will certainly help this situation and ensure that we are delivering the best services that we can to our residents. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. It was seconded by Councillor Bostock. Item number 38, appointment Assistant Director and Assistant City Clerk, Legal Services, is again Councillor Shammy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move the Council approve the permanent appointment of Maître Ariane Leblond-Menard to the position of Assistant Director, Legal Services, and Assistant City Clerk effective April 14th, 2025, and this in accordance with the conditions of the employment and compensation of management personnel, that the remuneration be set according to Salary Group 6, Rate 2025, and in accordance with the financial information included in the decision-making file 4995, and that Maître Ariane Leblanc-Menard be appointed Assistant City Clerk as stipulated in Section 96 of the Cities and Towns Act, and that this appointment be subject to a probationary period in accordance with the agreement respecting the conditions of employment and compensation of management personnel.
Merci beaucoup. Seconded by Councillor Bostock. We had an opportunity to meet her earlier on this evening, so we say welcome to the team. It's a very important department that works closely with councils. Donc, welcome, Maître Leblanc-Menard. And all in favor? Carried.
Welcome aboard.
Item number 39 is again Councillor Shammy, termination of employment, employee number 05434.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the city terminate employment for employee number 05434 for cause retroactively to February 4th, 2025, the date on which the employee was suspended without pay for investigation purposes.
Merci beaucoup. Appuyé par Madame Bostock. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. That brings the that part of the agenda to an end. We will start with this question, and then we'll move. I think we have questions online that we have to go to. So, welcome.
Good.
Three.
Actually, one.
Oh, because the others had been answered. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't. Welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you very much. My name is Don Taddeo. I'm 4394 de Maisonneuve.
Welcome.
First of all, I want to commend you for your good, quiet, and patient work here tonight. Westmount citizens always have very interesting questions to ask, and it's nice to see that you have time to listen to them. Now, I'm here to talk about my tax bill, but before I get to that, I can't help but pass a few comments on the bike path, which, as you know, I may have talked about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I would hope that, first of all, did I hear correctly that Vélo Quebec were the consultants for the bike path?
No.
Oh, sorry, okay. So I'd hope that you listen to the citizens' concerns. In all honesty, I don't think we're against biking. I don't think anybody's against biking. I think people are looking for common sense solutions. We live in a climate where people of my age will not go shopping on a bicycle or go to dental appointments on a bicycle. We'll have to go in a covered cubicle, and hopefully they'll all be electric 30 years from now, and we'll have to provide for them. That having been said, just two things. In terms of alternative routes, there are ways of linking de Maisonneuve to Westmount Avenue. You could use Kensington or Metcalfe, for that matter, up to Côte Saint-Edwin, use that heavily trafficked bike path, Côte Saint-Edwin, heading west, and then maybe go up Roslyn, which is a nice wide boulevard, and link up there with Westmount Avenue. For those cyclists who want to use a north-south path, it would be a lot less taxing, less demanding, and for the city, a lot less expensive. And it could maybe arrive at some kind of accommodation for the citizens. Just a thought. And the other issue is
answer that. Do you have another question after that that's on a different subject, or do you want us to?
No, so I'm just leaving it with you. And then I'll get to the taxation. The second thing is on the overarching safety. We're all agreed. But let's not forget the overarching safety of pedestrians, children, especially those of us who walk down the Maisonneuve, try and cross north-south where there are stop signs of the bike path, walk through Westmount Park, cross from between Metcalfe, cross across Melville into the park. It could be extremely hazardous at times. So I would hope the city takes some initiative in attending to the overarching safety of pedestrians and children and elderly people using the walkways there. My question is about my tax bill. So I get my tax bill in February. I open it up, $13,000, all right, you know, it's not bad, 3% hike, whatever it was. Then I look, the first payment is $13,800. I said, how can that be? Oh, it says I forgot to pay last May. I said, that can't be. I haven't missed a bill in the 40 years that I've lived here in Westmount. So I said, well, let me write to the taxation department to see if I can get an answer. And I dealt with all 4 levels of the department, you'll be happy to know. So I write and I say, by the way, I got this bill with $800 in arrears of payments. How come it wasn't sent a reminder? I'll spare you the correspondence that went on over 10 days, but here's a sampling of the answers that I got. As it is written on our website, we send one tax bill only. Correct. Furthermore, there are thousands of property owners in the city of Westmount. It is unrealistic to expect us to contact all the people that did not make their payment on time. As we are only 2 accountants working in this department, it is also the reason why we put the arrears on the tax bill for next year. So I asked a question. I said, if Hydro Westmount can send me a reminder the day after my bill is due, and the library sends us reminders regularly when our books are due, why can't the taxation department do that? The answer I get, well, Hydro Westmount has a full team of 10-plus people to work with all the residents of Westmount, so their process may differ from ours. Correct. Being in the pain in the neck, I figured, let me go back. I still haven't got an answer to my question. Why didn't I get a reminder? Well, we do not send reminders for tax bills, one, out of concern for the environment. Yeah, we all got 2 tax bills this year because of the postal strike, if I remember correctly. 2, because the obligation of the taxpayer is for he or she to make the payments. Well, no kidding. And third of all, it's on our website. Well, why would I check the website if I thought I've paid my bills? Still no answer. So I come back, and here's the last answer that I got. And all of these were signed by me and signed by the people who work in taxation. I'm not mentioning their names. I don't want to put them out in the public here. But the last response I got was the following. I'd signed the previous email. Dear citizen.
So.
I think we've made all our questions clear. Look, I'm almost finished. For any other questions or queries, I invite you to use the web portal or to make an access to information request. Regards, the person's name in capital letters E-N-D, end. So I only have 2 questions to ask. 1, can you please ask the taxation department to send out reminder notices in June, July, or August, let them pick the date, to taxpayers who have forgotten to pay their taxes for the year? I think it's only fair. And can you please ask your administrative personnel to address questions from citizens a little more politely? To respond to an email signed by a property owner and to refer him to the website and to salute that person as a dear citizen, I find a little rude, dismissive, and to sign off with the word END in capital letters is insulting. This is not the way we do things in Westmount, I hope. Thank you.
So.
I wish to answer.
Well, the question's directed to me, so I will answer first, and then I'm sure you'd love to. Thank you for your commentary, your feedback. I think the DG can fill in some of that. I'm sorry if you felt that it was rude to you. That's obviously not how we like to treat citizens. I'm sorry if you felt that way. There's sort of a policy in place currently of how we send out tax bills. If that needs to be reviewed, then that's something we can look at. But Madame la DG, avant Monsieur D'Amico.
I'll forward it to you, but not being on the paper, it would seem to me that if the library can let me know that my book is overdue, the tax department's software in 2025 should have a little flag pop up when a payment isn't made.
When you're really overdue, trust me, we send you a notice.
Never got one.
But that's further down the line.
Yeah, when you want to take my house back.
When there's more legal implications. Mr. D'Amico, quickly before we move to the next question.
Mr. Tadeo, this for me is completely unacceptable. I put in an internal control procedure because not the first time this happens. The finance department was supposed to issue a reminder and go through the list and send you a reminder the latest October or November. That was not done. So you understand good governance. You understand that if you have a boat and you have one side of the boat going left and the other side of the boat going right, the boat will not go anywhere.
So I think
understood.
The DG has a comment on that, and then we'll move on to the next question.
Also,
I
would
just
like
to
to
I think
I'm not finished. I'm not
but
finished.
you've made an
I have a second
accusation
point
here.
regarding the way he's being treated by municipal employees. It's not the first time I get this comment that taxpayers are being rudely treated by email by municipal employees. I strongly recommend an etiquette course be given to the people writing these emails because they really lack tact. And you're right, you were treated in a disrespectful manner. I apologize
Madame
on
la
behalf of
DG.
the Finance Department.
Thank you.
Thank you. For me to address the situation, I'm really sorry, honestly. I know the people in finance, and I'd be surprised, like, to understand the whole situation for me to address it. So if you can send them to me, it's going to be my
As
pleasure.
you can imagine, we don't like to talk about personal
Absolument
issues here,
pas.
but thank you for
Merci,
raising it. So,
Welcome.
and we're easy to find.
I know.
Okay. Next question, and then we'll move to the questions online.
Hi, Thomas Rollin, Claremont and Westmount.
Bienvenue.
Merci. I would have a quick question because I noticed today item 15 and 16, they were for mandate for legal services, but the whereas were not read, and so there are no details about those two items. It's actually 16 and 17, but the amount allocated for these items are up to $75,000. So I was wondering if we could get more information.
So the whereases are not, did you get a copy that's at the back of the room?
So the whereas are never provided.
Okay, so
which could
you
change.
want some more information on 16 and 17? Happy to read them, or you can have my copy right here.
That a copy will do, but
But your question is more specifically about whereases being
made available.
Made available.
Because I understand that our meetings are quite long,
Oui.
and sometimes we may
Sometimes
want
longer
to
than,
skip
oui.
some points, and if we just made them available, maybe online only, that could do the job.
Madame la graphière.
Deux choses. La première chose, c'est que une fois que les procès-verbaux sont signés, ils sont tous publics et sur le site web de la ville. Donc ça, c'est vraiment pour la portion publicité, en fait, là, des documents. Puis si je peux spécifiquement répondre à votre question pour les items 16 et 17, je crois, en fait, ce sont des bons de commande qui sont ouverts pour des mandats en droit du travail, en fait. C'est le service qui est requérant, c'est le service des ressources humaines. Puis le but, c'est d'avoir auprès de ces deux firmes d'avocats-là des montants disponibles s'ils ont à avoir recours, en fait, à des services juridiques, notamment pour ce qui est grief, interprétation de la convention collective, ce type-là de dossier.
Parfait, je comprends. But so moving forward, can we still have those whereas written somewhere and made available?
En ligne?
En fait, pas avant la séance. Ensuite, il n'y a pas de problème. Parce qu'il peut toujours avoir des amendements, comme ça a été le cas aujourd'hui. Donc, comme ce sont seulement des projets, ils ne sont pas adoptés. Ils sont rendus publics, mais après la séance.
Okay.
Is your request that we read the whereases as well, as to add more?
I think
we
if
try
you-
and add context when it's needed.
I
but
think if you cannot provide them in writing, it seems
Your
to-
request, okay.
I
Your
think you need
request
to
is
read
noted.
them. That was my first question. The second question I have, it's actually, it's more to clarify something. It's item number 36 and 39. You are using in English the term dismissal and then termination, but in French you translate both by congédiement. And so I don't understand the difference between dismissal and termination if you translate it in both cases in French congédiement and yet create two different items for that.
36 et 39. It's a translation with the same outcome, but your question is noted. I don't have an answer for you on that right now, why there's a difference in the...
Pour les deux. Mais à ce moment-là, pourquoi on ne fait pas juste un item?
Parce qu'il y en a un, c'était affaire nouvelle. Donc, c'est une décision.
OK. Ben, c'est weird, mais si c'est votre réponse, pourquoi
OK.
pas. Dernière question, pas pour moi. It's on behalf of Mr. Nigel Goddard, who wanted to ask his question during the first period of question, but had to leave. So he actually wrote it to me. So I'm going to read it simply on his behalf. So from Nigel Godin, who I think he lives on Claremont and Côte-Saint-Antoine, if I'm not mistaken. So my question to the City Council is this. With the removal of as many as 50 parking spaces from the east side of Claremont to make way for a bike path, all the people who currently park there will be parking on Winchester, on Somerville, on Lorraine, on Willow, and this could cause a problem if it's not addressed. So what plans has the city arranged to replace those missing parking spaces due to the bike path? And is it possible to put the bike path on Grosvenor Avenue with more and more people using e-bikes? It shouldn't be a problem thanks to the e-bikes if we choose another street, from what I understand, that could be more steep.
I would thank you for your question, Mr. Goddard. I'll address it like he's asking it. Thank you for your question, Mr. Goddard. The number seems to be keeps shifting, but in terms of what is being said by citizens, but we do know that that number has actually gone down, and we understand that there is a parking concern closer to Sherbrooke Street, certainly, sort of below Windsor, where there is more demand for on-street parking for people that have either no parking on their property or have a second car and they only have a parking pad or whatever it may be. So the direction from City Council has been to add, to remove a water retention space that was around the park to put parking back there. And as we said before, everything is a trade-off. We're trying to fit and address many different concerns, build a road for the, not just for today, but for the future as well. When this road was built, there wasn't a CEGEP at the top of it. I know the residents of the area have said, that should have less impact on the concerns of the residents that live there, but we obviously have to build the road for everybody and take into everybody's consideration. There's been a lot of public consultation on this. There's been a lot of feedback. We have changed course on a couple different things. We understand that there was a need for more parking further down. Further north, there isn't so much of a parking issue, so one side is seemingly adequate. So thank you for your comment on that. Do you want to add anything? I think Mr. D'Amico wants to add anything, but first, Councillor Peart, the councillor.
Well, I think you summarized it well, and as the mayor has just shared, since the preferred scheme has been published and presented to everybody in the community, we have heard the feedback and the overwhelming concern about the loss of parking. The number is a little bit distorted because it depends on, there's parking that, as the mayor says, above Côte-Saint-Antoine, which is being removed but was not really being used. And then there's a lot of parking below Windsor all the way down to Sherbrooke Street, which are 1 hour spots. So not all spots are the same. But the short answer, the short response is that we've heard you, and we have given a direction to the administration to try to recapture some of the spaces that were lost.
C'est bon? Mr. D'Amico?
To be honest, I'm not in favor of this bike path. Mr. Godard, Nigel, raised a certain issue regarding the e-bikes. I think the e-bikes will change the way things happen. The e-bikes, in my opinion, will be similar to mini mopeds, and possibly they'll be respecting the highway code. So I'm not convinced that a bike path is really warranted on your street. And I think if there's an e-bike going up Grosvenor, I think it's the same thing, but whether the e-bike goes up Grosvenor or Claremont, I think the future is the e-bike, and I think that's where we're going. Mr. Tadeo, I think, said maybe 30 years. I think it'll be closer to that. But I'm not convinced a bike path is the solution for Claremont. We did a consultation. I think you were very clear. Also, I'm of the opinion that I don't think we can continue to do roads like we're doing now. At the rate we're going, if I look at how much time is being spent on Claremont and the consultation, we're not going to get anything done next year. So I think things have to change. And unfortunately, we gave a directive to the administration to abide by what the consultation that we heard, which was to listen to the residents. So we told the administration that we would like the status quo or as close to the status quo. I cannot explain why this keeps coming back. It's very clear, and you've asked how much time of the administration's time is on this.
No.
I've also asked on your behalf.
Okay.
I'm not able to get answers to your questions. Very simple question.
I think we're confusing different things here. This is the first I'm hearing from Councillor D'Amico of his opinion on this. But you attended many of the public consultations. All the feedback on this from the public consultations. You saw it online. It is a challenge for the future. It's a challenge for now to fit everything that's needed on one street. So I think some of your neighbors, certainly below Côte Saint-Antoine, will be pleased to have more parking spots put back in the area. And then we'll move on to the next question, because I'm sure everybody wants to go home.
But I believe, just for the point of clarification, the directive from council was specifically with respect to requesting status quo as much as possible with respect to changing the triangle, not the rebuild of Claremont, of the entirety of the street.
It's also important to note that this is the first bike path that is being put into the city, our first designated bike path. Certainly, since I've been mayor, we had done one on Côte Saint-Antoine. Prior to that, I guess it was in maybe 2016, on Côte Saint-Antoine and Westmount Avenue that were put in as test projects. But this is a decision that's been made and has the majority support of council at this point. But we are making tweaks, and we have heard the concerns. Like, we heard your concerns around the triangle. We have heard the concerns about parking. We understand, but what we also hear from residents constantly is about safety, about traffic, and those two things can be controlled with the design of roads. And when you design a road. So if we want to make an impact on that, if we want less cars on our streets, which is an issue that cities across the world are grappling with and dealing with in all sorts of different ways, whether it be congestion pricing or taxing people coming into city centers or whatever it may be. But in order for us to have less cars on the road, to have safer pedestrians, we do have to make some of those changes. They're going to be hard. They're going to impact the people that live there and benefit the people that don't. So the kids that live on Claremont are different than the kids that are going to Marianopolis. But will it be a safer street in the end? All the data indicates that bike paths make safer streets, that they help commercial sectors. So I know it's not maybe welcome news from everybody on Claremont, but we have to look at it as a whole. So I thank you. You've been totally dedicated in your participation on this street, and I thank you for it. I applaud you for it. And I think you're an example to other residents of being engaged in this stuff. And because of your implication, we have made a lot of changes on this. So on that note, we have one more person behind you, and then we'll take the questions online and we'll adjourn.
Yeah, well, thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't know if you were addressing your comment to me or Mr. Nigel Goddard at the end, but...
oh, yeah, sorry, it was a bit of a mix. That was the last part was for you.
That's all good. Thank you.
Because I don't think I ever saw Nigel at the public consultation. I could be wrong, but sorry, the last section was for you, and thank you, Nigel Goddard, for your question. Last question in the room, and then we move online.
So I'm Jessica Winton once again. I actually support the north-south bike path because I realize as somebody who uses micromobility like an electric scooter or e-bike or whatever, the connection would be very useful, especially when, the STM recently banned these types of vehicles from being on the metro, but when you were allowed to take them on the metro, it was very useful. Same goes for the EXO trains. But at the same time, there have been times where I've specifically avoided going up certain streets that don't have a bike path, and I'd have to come all the way over here to Côte Saint-Antoine just to go up the hill, which is quite the detour. And it'd be very welcome to have a dedicated bike path, whether it's level with the sidewalk or dedicated within the street level. But at the same time, I understand people's concerns with the amount of traffic. But if it's level with the sidewalk, it also gives more room for pedestrians, for students who go from Marianopolis to Sherbrooke, to the local businesses and things like that. Because it is quite difficult to bike up, but at the same time with micromobility, like an e-scooter or whatever, it becomes much easier. And quite honestly, I don't see an alternative path for this, especially considering the fact that the closest north-south bike path is right here, just around the corner. It's on Côte Saint-Antoine, so it doesn't make sense to put it somewhere like Roslyn where you have bus pickups, or on Grosvenor or Victoria where they're one-way streets. So please keep it on Claremont.
Thank you for your comments. En ligne.
Yes, so we actually had two questions, but it's regarding the trees in King George Park.
I think Mrs. Jaroslawski indicated that she asked her
Exactly,
question
but
at the
it's
microphone.
all regarding the same subject, so
Okay.
I don't know if you'd like me to read it or you...
Yeah, read the question, and we'll answer it. I think we've already answered it, but we'll answer it again.
So, good evening. Why, after promising to save the historically significant Black Locust Grove in King George Park, as well as hiring landscape architect Sophie Robitaille to do a new plan including the Black Locust, are you once again trying to ban these trees?
So that question is from Madame Jaroslawski or
it's-
Catherine Stevenson?
Yes, exactly.
So I think we answered the question before. I don't know if either counselor wants to weigh in as well. We are not banning the acacia tree from Murray Hill Park, of which there is an amendment in there to make that clear. That was never the intention, but it's always better to be crystal clear so that people understand the intent of the bylaw. And the amended bylaw indicates that the acacia trees in the grove that we had discussed before are protected and are not subject to this. Do you want to add anything, Councillor Roux or Aronson? No? C'est bon? All good? Okay. So that was, the
That
two
was
questions
it.
were similar
Yep.
there, and there's no other online questions?
No.
I thought there were. Okay. Didn't we have 4?
Yeah, but it was comments, so I
Oh,
don't know if you'd
comments.
like me to read it, since it's not a question. That's up to you.
Okay, c'est bon. Merci. Thank you. The meeting is adjourned.